This episode of Your Morning Drive is brought to you by Fireworks Co-working. They are a creative co-working space located in Marietta, Georgia, focused on supporting the local community and uplifting creative entrepreneurs. If you want to try out this beautiful space, this podcast room is just one of the many available rooms and spaces available for you and your company to work at. If you want to try them, you can. Use code DRIVE at checkout and you'll get a free day pass. So, if you're working from home, if you're working at an office that you don't have to go to, if you're tired of working at your kitchen table where you have to listen to your kids or your spouse or the lawn people in the outside cutting the grass and it's too loud for your Zoom meetings. Well, you don't have to worry about that. You can try out Fireworks Co-working in Marietta, Georgia. It's right down the street from Kennestone Hospital. They are the presenting sponsor of Your Morning Drive. They offer me a beautiful space for me to be able to record my podcast with all of the creators, business owners, and other individuals that I get the pleasure of interviewing, and they can be your home too. So either go to the space, tour the place with the staff, tell them Logan Lewis from Your Morning Drive sent you, or if you're booking online, again, use code DRIVE, DRIVE, for a free day pass to try the space. Your Morning Drive is also present to us by Good Days Canned Cocktails. Good Days are a classic cocktail brand created in a convenient, ready-to-drink canned format for any occasion, whether it's a pool day, a boat day, a beach day, a graduation, a wedding, a bar mitzvah, anything in between. Good Days are there for you. Good Days are ahead when they are in your cooler, your fridge, your anything in between. Good Days has your back. If you want to be one of the first to try their drink, you can do so by visiting drinkgooddays.com/pages/find-us to find a store near you selling their drink. Of course, you must be 21 years of age to consume and purchase. Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to 2025. Man, you haven't heard me since last year. I hope everybody had a really fun and happy, safe holiday with friends and family. Tons of celebration. Hopefully you're not too hungover this week and you're just getting back into the swing of things for the new year. Welcome back to another episode of Your Morning Drive. I am your host with the most, Logan Lewis. It is great to be with you today, live from the Fireworks Studio in Marietta, Georgia. We are thrilled to have you with us today. If you enjoy what I do here, do me a favor and share it with just one friend who might need a little boost to start their day. You can listen on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and if you want to watch in full on YouTube, you can do that as well. Don't forget to subscribe on your platform of choice and leave a 5-star review. It helps us grow and reach more people. For even more ways to stay connected, you can follow along on all the socials: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok, where we throw up episode announcements, clips, show updates, behind the scenes, everything in between. Thank you again for being with us today. My guest today was born in North Georgia and grew up with both her parents and her older brother. She went to Florida State University like every other good person in her family. After graduation, she came to Atlanta and worked for the Olympic Games. She then moved to San Diego, California, where she met and married Rich, which is her husband's name, not the status. And they had 2 girls. After they did that, they moved back to Georgia, and they've been here ever since. Rich started Nagel's Bagels in their basement, which is started as a hobby, but now has grown into their full-time job and a legacy that they can leave. Please welcome my new friend, Kelly Nagel.
Thanks for having me, Logan.
Thanks for coming, Kelly.
It's
Kelly,
okay.
it is kind of hot in here. Is it? Do you feel that?
I'm good.
You are?
But I'm usually cold, so I'm a really bad judge at that.
Well, I get very hot very easily, but maybe it's just I'm fired up.
Just excited.
It's the new year.
It is.
How was your 2024?
It was good. It was busy. And I am not one of those people that uses busy as, oh, I'm so busy, isn't as a flex. Like
Right.
I learned a long time ago that busy is not a flex. It's really better to try and pace yourself and give yourself margin. And I'm going to do better at that in 2025.
You think so?
I did. Yeah.
Did you get everything done that you wanted to get done in 2024?
Ooh, there were a few goals that I had that I was short of. I'm an avid reader.
Okay.
And I had the goal of reading 100 books in 2024, and I was a little short, but that's okay because I got close. So
yeah, well, that's good. I mean, as long as you got close.
Yeah, I read a lot of really great books. And I could include audiobooks and like actual physical reading books in my reading count. So,
well, that's good. Any standouts worth mentioning?
Ooh, yes. So Remarkably Bright Creatures, which was Shelby Van something. Oh, I forgot her name. I hate that, the author. But it was a great book. One of the characters in the book is an octopus named Marcellus, and octopodes, which is the plural.
Really?
The real Greek plural for octopus is octopodes.
Okay.
Yes, not anything else. And
not.
I know.
Okay.
I know. It's my new fascination to bring octopodes to life.
Okay. I like that.
But it is my Roman Empire too. I think about octopodes more than I should probably.
You know what is funny about that? I was discussing this actually a couple weeks ago with somebody, and I was like, what is my Roman Empire? I don't know if I have one.
What is it?
Although I do have one that I have similarly to you with the octopodes.
Octopodes.
With a D.
Octopodes.
Okay. Octopodes. That's really cool. I think about sharks a lot.
Do you know sharks have no bones?
I did know that. It's all
weird.
It starts with a P or something. It's like
basically cartilage, but fancy.
That's
name.
it. Not a P, a C. But I was close. Halfway down the alphabet, but I was close.
You're fine.
Yeah, I think about sharks a lot. It's actually my greatest fear, besides not being successful.
Oh, so you wouldn't go in one of those like Shark Tank cages to get up close with them?
You'd have to put a couple zeros on the end of a check for me to get in the water with a shark, even behind protective caging.
Oh. Do you think it's an actual like a phobia?
No, it's more, I think, just a fear of being ripped to shreds.
Oh, well, I feel like that's pretty rational. Then, as opposed to an irrational fear, which is a technical phobia.
I was actually watching a TikTok last night of a guy in a cage with a great white shark that just like brushes up against the side of the cage, and the diver sticks his hand out and just rubs the back of the shark. And I was like, sharks are beautiful, fascinating creatures. I just don't want to be without some, I'll get in the water with a shark. I just need to have either somebody there with me that knows what they're doing or some kind of protective caging, or both.
Maybe we just shouldn't try and pet things that can kill us.
Well, this is true, but with that same logic, I guess, maybe not a Chihuahua, but a lot of our dogs could turn on us one day if they all
absolutely.
Unified and said, you know what, fuck this pet shit.
Right.
We're gonna. Isn't there a movie about that where dogs and cats take over the world?
Absolutely. Well, the thing is that cats actually already have. We just didn't realize it. But I know for my own cat, his name is Elton John. He's all white. He's amazing. He owns me.
Really?
I do exactly.
He's the boss.
Oh, I do exactly what he says. He comes into my room in the morning, meowing when it is time for me to wake up, whether I am ready or not.
Okay.
Yeah. He makes me carry him around when he wants to be carried around. I am fully trained.
Okay. So you do as he says.
Oh, absolutely. And the two dogs basically do what he says too, which is interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
What kind of dogs?
They're both smaller. One is a Basenji Chihuahua mix. His name is Neil Young, and obviously. And then we have a Chihuahua wire hair terrier mix. She's blonde. Mm-hmm. Her name is Pat Benatar because she kind of always looks hungover.
Pat Benatar, isn't that the singer for I don't know, the Heart? Not Heart.
No, not Heart.
Who's
no,
Pat
Benatar was, she had. Wasn't she just the lead of her band? I don't know that.
I don't know.
It was
there wasn't like a stage name? It was just Pat Benatar?
I think it was.
Maybe it was. God, I don't know.
We'll have to look up some songs. We could karaoke later.
Okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're doing tomorrow, but
But
sounds like karaoke tonight.
I mean, absolutely. Absolutely. Do you have a go-to karaoke song?
You know what's funny, Kelly, is I used to ask people this. Every episode I used to ask. I told you when I met you the other day that I asked people a collection of questions at the end. And my go-to karaoke song used to be one of those questions.
Yeah.
People, often enough, surprisingly, never knew the answer. So I stopped asking it.
Right. You just made them think.
Yeah. So I don't know. The first one that comes to mind is Chattahoochee by Alan Jackson.
Oh, that's a good
I
one.
love Alan Jackson. Another one that jumps out is Funky Town by whoever they are. The
Oh, that's a
Sledge
good one.
Sisters.
Yeah. Sister Sledge.
Sister
But
Sledge.
yeah, close enough. Yeah.
Or like The Lion King. I don't know. Like the
absolutely.
Das of Enya or whatever the lyrics
Yeah.
are.
See, unless you're like a really phenomenal, great singer, the karaoke song can't be sad.
No.
Right? I mean, it has to be like something upbeat.
You can't sing
It
like the
has
Sarah
to get-
McLachlan's song from like
No.
the pet commercials. You can't do
No.
that. Everyone's leaving. That's the
Right.
last song.
Exactly. Exactly. So it has to be something like really great. It can't be slow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of pressure with karaoke.
It is. And, you know, people often, I feel like, suggest like, oh, let's go do karaoke. Let's do karaoke. But it never ends up happening because I do think people realize that there is a lot of pressure with karaoke.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people, I think that the good singers and the good performers are the people who've made it in the singing and music career. But they're, with us regular people, there are good singers and then there are good performers, but they're not both.
Not usually.
So someone could kill a song, but just have a horrible stage presence.
True.
That is the opposite of me. I think I could hold my own, but I'm like I'm a performer.
Yeah.
Like I would like be reaching into the audience, grabbing hands as I'm singing and shit.
Absolutely.
Just like doing the air guitar.
Yeah.
I'd be a great performer if I ever made it in that world. I don't know if I want to, but.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Rich and I, we have duets that we do for karaoke. We've practiced.
Yeah.
Because you have to, like you said, you have to be a good performer. And you have to be good.
You can't just stand there like this with the mic. No one wants that.
So we always do Summer Nights from Greece, obviously, and the Elephant Medley from Moulin Rouge.
Okay.
So
very interesting choices.
Yeah.
What about if you did it solo? What's your go-to?
Oh, so I really don't like to solo karaoke very much because I'm an okay singer, but like my husband and one of my children, they're like God-given gift.
They can
singers. They can sing so well. And so Rich can sing like he sings Frank Sinatra like Frank Sinatra. I mean, he's so good. And he actually has a band. So yeah, they have a band. Their real name is Sons of Vinyl.
Okay.
Would you like to know what we call them though? The wives.
Yeah.
We call them the Midlife Crisis Band. So
that's amazing. And it's probably true.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Midlife Crisis Band.
They're great. They do like 70s songs, some 80s. They do, they're actually all really good musicians.
Wow. Good for them.
And the singer, Rich is a good singer.
So is Rich the lead singer then?
Rich is the lead singer.
Okay.
And then our oldest daughter, Corey, she will come and do like cameos sometimes and sing. And she's so good, it's annoying. Like
really?
You met singers like that. They're like she'll just walk in and you'd be like, hey, will you sing the hardest song ever?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, sure. And do it, like nothing.
Right. She walks up and she's like, I don't know.
She's like, sure.
It's like your friend that you go, I know boys will, and girls that golf will understand this, but your friend that's like, oh, I'm not that good at golf. They step up to the tee box and drive it 200 yards down the fairway. You're like, shut up. You son of a bitch.
You're like, you're not good at golf compared to who?
Right. Compared to me. Yeah. Now I know that you're better than me.
Yeah. You're not good at golf compared to, I don't know, like Mickelson.
Right. Or Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
Or like the GOAT.
Yeah.
I guess that is Tiger Woods.
Well.
To some.
I mean, as long as you're not dating anyone, apparently.
Ooh, that's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess he is the GOAT. I got to see him golf one time and that's all I need. It was cool.
I got to see him golf once when we were living in San Diego. I was doing like special event fundraising stuff when we lived there. And so it was a pro-am, golf tournament. And so he was there. Mickelson was there. A couple other people. Yeah, it was fun. He was nice.
Yeah.
I mean, for the 30 seconds I saw him.
Right. I went to the Masters a few years ago, which was a really cool opportunity.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, probably me to use distance from him as he's setting up his shot, because somehow miraculously we got up against the the line that
Wow,
blocks
did you
you
have
off.
to kill somebody?
No, in
Oh,
fact,
good.
there was just an opening, and I saw my spot, and I slid right in.
Good job.
And we're standing there, and I'm like, this is like a really cool moment.
Yeah.
And it's the Masters, so there's no phones.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to take any technology into the Masters.
I respect that.
And I do too. It was kind of nice not having your phone with you for a day. But
Yeah.
it was one of those moments where I was like, I feel like I need to get a picture to prove that I was 2 feet from Tiger Woods. But people just got to take your word for it.
They do. They do. The grass is amazing there.
Right?
It's just crazy.
So is the food.
What did you eat? I have to know.
Of course, you got to try the legendary pimento cheese sandwich.
Yeah.
Good.
Is it as good as it? I mean, okay, is it really as good as everyone says, or is it because you're there?
I think it's an
and you're
experience
looking at
thing.
the azaleas and seeing the grass and eating the sandwich. And
Right.
You now have arrived.
It's like trying Coca-Cola at the World of Coke Museum. You're like, oh, this is the best Coke ever. It's the same as every other fountain
It
Coke.
really is.
I will say, though, their breakfast food, like they had chicken biscuits in the morning and phenomenal. Probably the best chicken biscuit I've ever had.
Don't tell Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, I know. Very, very impressive. And I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if they bought thousands of biscuits from a local Chick-fil-A, took them out of the packaging, put them in their own packaging, and sprinkled some kind of seasoning on there and called it their own.
Master's dust.
Master's dust. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Cool. But yeah, I mean, great food. There's no brands, which is weird. No brands are allowed at the Masters.
I kind of love that too.
It's like there's no distractions.
Yeah.
The only brand there, I'm pretty sure, is Rolex. And they have like this giant clock at the entrance that tells everybody what time it is because you have no phone. You have no,
Right.
I mean, you could have a watch, I guess. But I mean,
Yeah.
for the most part, you're just flying blind. It could be like 2 o'clock, but you might think it's 11 a.m. just because, no access to anything. But
That's
yeah, I mean,
okay.
you'll get like a Powerade and it'll just called sports drink. Or you'll get like a light beer that's clearly like Miller Lite and it'll just be called light beer. And it's like, huh.
There's kind of
Weird.
beauty in that though.
It is. It is. Similar to the grass, similar to the food. Everything is like perfectionist.
Yeah.
There's no flaws at the Masters.
I like it.
No joke. I bit into my chicken biscuit right when we got there. Piece of the breading falls on the ground. Within 45 seconds, a dude comes up with one of those like claw things and grabs it, picks it up, and puts it in a trash can. It's like there's no trash, there's no litter, there's no nothing.
You're in Oz.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Man, I got Oz on the mind. I saw Wicked yesterday.
How was it?
So.
Okay, wait. First, before you answer that, have you seen it live?
No.
Oh.
I went in blind.
So you haven't seen it. You haven't read the book. Did you read a synopsis?
I knew generally that it had something to do with The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, okay.
I didn't even know it took place before. And kind of, I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but the movie kind of goes back and forth a little bit.
Interesting.
But it's mostly set before The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Because I guess I didn't realize that for some reason we wanted to know how the Wicked Witch feels about things. Which, no pun intended, after watching it, I'm like, is she that bad of a dude?
Oh, I know. Right?
However, I didn't realize this, but watching the movie, it showed like right at the beginning, it goes Wicked, movie title across the screen. And then at the bottom, it says part 1. So there's a second part that's coming out a year from 2 days ago.
Okay. So this is your assignment.
Yes.
Should you choose to accept it?
I do.
You need to see Wicked on stage.
I'd love to
see the live version. It's amazing.
I'd love to.
I've cried more than once.
I teared up in the movie. I'm a crier, though.
What part?
Well, I'm like a crier with like powerful like music and action shots on the screen. So I cried at the last shot of the movie because there's this wonderful frame that she's singing this song. God, it's like the song is called like.
Is it Defying Gravity?
Yep, that one.
Yeah.
Powerful song. And the final shot of the movie is so badass. I turned to my wife and I was like, that was the coolest shit I have ever seen.
I love it.
She finally gets, you've seen Wicked, the play, so you know. So I'm not spoiling the movie.
You can't spoil it.
And anyone at this point who hasn't seen the movie, if you really wanted to see it, you would have gone by now. She finally she gets her broom finally.
Yeah.
She's singing this song. She breaks out of the observatory area and her cape just flaps in the wind in slow motion, and then she like does this cool like somersault onto the broom, and then she like starts flying slowly, and then she like breaks the sound barrier.
I love it
Because she's like zooming so fast, and then like it's like this big thunderous like boom, and like I got goosebumps just talking about it.
Yeah.
And then like dun, dun, black screen, directed by John Cho or whatever, and I was like,
Love it.
my god, this is fucking great.
Yeah.
I like looked at my wife and I was like, that was the coolest shit I've ever seen. I got like so excited. She was like, shh, and I was like, no, that was the coolest shit I've ever seen. But the acting is phenomenal. Ariana Grande as the White Witch, I think's her character's name. Glenda she's phenomenal. She's incredible.
I do feel like she needs to eat a sandwich though.
Yeah, she looks a little thin. Yeah. And then the other actress, I do not know her name. I should. She's the star of the movie. She's phenomenal too. Incredible actress.
I'm excited.
You should be. However, one thing I did not know until I sat in the seat is that it was 2 hours and 45 minutes. I was not prepared for the length of a musical.
Yeah.
But
because when you see it live, you get an intermission.
Yeah. Did not know. And I guess this intermission is a year until the next part of the movie comes out. Yeah. But yeah, it was long, but before I knew it, I looked at my watch and I was like, "Oh my god, there's only 40 minutes left." Like it flew by. I was sucked in.
Awesome.
Because it was like, I like the idea of like exploring like, why is this villain a villain?
Yeah.
Like we get all these villain stories in like Disney movies and all these other things, and you're like, why are they so bad?
Yeah.
And I like that this movie or the play and the book explores all that. It's really cool.
Yeah. This is one of the weird times that the live Broadway and probably the movie, although I haven't seen it, I plan to see it, is I am 100% sure better than the book.
Yeah,
one of the few books that I can say that about.
There's a lot of really, really good stuff here. I need to almost read the book now.
You'll be so disappointed.
Really?
Yeah.
Boring?
Saying. It's just, it's not, they just do such a better job with the play. And yeah.
I'm excited.
And I am not usually that person. And I am also a person that I can often see a movie. If there is a book and a movie, I will usually see the movie first and then read the book, because the book can often ruin the movie, but the movie doesn't always, like most of the time won't ruin the book, because the book will be a lot different.
Right. It'll be more descriptive.
Yeah.
It's more.
Yeah. And there's like when it goes off, because the movie will trail off or not explore characters the way it should or whatever. And so and I'm not one of those of, oh my gosh, but I know he dies in the end or whatever.
Right.
Like
true.
I'm okay with that. So,
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I've just this year discovered Stephen King, which sounds crazy because I was literally a literature major in college.
Really?
Like I was an English major, but I was one of those people, and you're not allowed to say this in the literary world, but you're not allowed to not like Stephen King.
Right.
Because he's Stephen King.
He's
but
iconic.
I low-key was like, is he really all that? Because I never been into like gore.
Right. Or horror.
So I was never going to read it. I was never going to read any of those. But my book club this year, we read Holly, which is one of his newer books. And about halfway through, it hit me, what a fucking genius he is.
Oh.
I was like, oh, I now get it. And I don't know what it was, but it was, and so now I'm like devouring Stephen King books.
Yeah.
And what I do like is his exploration from the villain's point of view.
Uh-huh.
So I'm reading the Mr. Mercedes series, and it's just like, ooh, like, and we all know he's like crazy.
Yeah.
Like something's wrong.
Stephen King.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Himself.
Psycho.
Yeah. But I still kind of want to have lunch with him.
Oh.
Like.
I can get him on this podcast.
I got questions. And some of them are, who hurt you? Clearly.
Somebody did.
Dark happened.
Something happened to him.
But I mean, I don't appreciate that something dark happened. I appreciate his tunneling that.
Yes. Into the art
that we get to enjoy.
Yeah.
So, and I apologize for all those years of secretly thinking, he's not all that. He is totally all that.
He is that. And you know what? Unfortunately, a lot of his movies, like from his books being made into movies, a lot of them are disappointing.
Yeah.
Like, I will say though, one of my favorite movies of all time. After I saw it, I was like, this is my favorite, top 10 favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
Because it is so good and it's so faithful to the book, but it takes stuff out of the book that isn't necessary for screen. Because there's a lot of things in his books that are really twisted and kind of fucked up.
And he's a little long-winded.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. So the new It movie with, his name's escaping me now, but the dude that plays that clown is brilliant. And the book is long as shit. It's over 1,200 pages. I read it in college because it was about the time that the movie was coming out. And I was like, well, I got to read the book before I see the movie.
Yeah.
But then I bought the book and it was this thick.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I got to finish it in like 3 or 4 months, which for me is a lot of work.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't at that time, and still really, I'm trying. I told you the other day, I'm trying to get more into reading and audiobooks and everything. But golly, I mean, it's a long ass book.
That's a long book. I mean, I can read longer books, but like that's a commitment.
And luckily, similar to Wicked, they took the book and put it into 2 parts. It part 1, It part 2. Part 2 isn't as good. Part 1 is a masterpiece. Even if you don't like horror, it's, I mean, God, you should read it. It's a good book. I mean,
all right. I do think it's cool that, like, how iconic do you have to be, or, you know, what a flex that he uses pop culture references in his books of his own books.
Right? He like somehow connects them in the most little ways.
Yeah. In just like tiny conversations. I'm like, that's a flex. Like, that's pretty awesome.
It's like, oh my God, your main character is reading Pet Sematary. And it's like, bro.
Exactly.
You know what another really good one is? If you enjoy history, I love history.
I do too.
11/22/63. It's a really good one.
Also long though, I hear.
Not as long as it, but probably a good 800 pages.
Yeah.
Very good, about a dude who travels back in time to 11/22/63, right? Which is the day that John F. Kennedy gets assassinated. And it's almost like a Groundhog Day situation where he'll leave the past, go back into present day, and then he'll go back into the past, but he goes into the exact same moment every single time.
Interesting.
And he figures out new ways to avoid conversations with this person, or be able to, walk down a different street to avoid this, to prevent him from getting to John F. Kennedy's assassination. And it's really good. It's so good.
Interesting.
Yeah. I would.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I do like history. I'm not so much into sci-fi or time travel, although I've read a few that I like. Mm-hmm. There's Octavia Butler has a book called Kindred that basically everyone should read, and it's strange. It's time travel, but it's good. It's worth it, and you should read. You should go into it blind.
Okay,
it's that good.
I will. Goodness gracious. Oh, you know what's funny is I completely forgot about the icebreaker question I was going to ask you, which I usually don't do, but I thought of it before we started recording. And I said, you know what? This would be a fun one to put on the air. And I'm really I might offend a few people with this one. So buckle up.
Ooh, even better.
What do you think Jesus's favorite curse word was?
Oh, that's a good one. It's a really good one. He was really snarky, I mean, I assume he still is, but if, you look at his conversations, like with the people he didn't like, which, were church people, which I find fantastic, but, always those, people that were overly religious were the ones that he always, and, he said, I always think like, okay, when he said things like it's a den of vipers or, things like that, like, was that a curse word then? Like, was that, because like now you look at, culturally, like
sure.
if you're in Ireland or you can say fuck all the time and it's not a curse word, but you say bloody and it's like, ooh, you mean
you're serious.
It's like, these different words that just mean different things culturally. So I wonder like what those things were back then. I think he would have liked to shock people, especially really uptight people. He seemed to do it anyway, subtly. Mm-hmm. So I think it might have been something like, could have been something ironic, like son of a bitch, right?
I was going to say bitch too.
In a way, we kind of all are. right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, he's the only perfect one and the rest of us come from human trash. So,
Yeah.
thank God he came to save us.
Right.
But so something like that. But then again, I mean, a well-placed F-bomb sometimes
It goes a
just
long way.
clears the room, right? So
you got to think at the Last Supper, he stood up and everybody was still talking and he was like, attention, attention. And everyone's still talking. He's like, shut the fuck up.
Right.
And everyone, you got to think.
Or really quietly, he was like, hey, one of you's going to fuck me over. Yeah.
Damn.
And then interesting that they all wondered, would it be them? I think about that a lot.
Do you? Is that another Roman Empire?
Well, yeah. I mean, Jesus in general, because, thank God for him that, I can be saved. That's important.
For sure.
But yeah, like I think the misconception of who he is, especially I feel like in our society right now, people like this, there's this whole flex of deconstructing, and which I think we absolutely need to deconstruct from a lot of our preconceived notions of organized religion. We've gotten so far away from the Bible and Jesus, but it feels like a competition. It feels almost like the election, which is crazy because aren't we all supposed to be about love and acceptance and, in that what
Jesus, but it's so there's so much animosity with it.
There's so much animosity. It's like, oh, you go to that church, that means that you must believe this, and this. And it's like, or it could just be that that's the closest one to my house. And that's where my, that's where my people are, anyway. But yeah, so I do think a lot about like, how many times do we misunderstand, and have we misunderstood him in general?
Yeah.
Oh.
I like to think, ultimately none of us have ever spoken to him, at least in a two-way conversation. Well,
I disagree.
Well, okay, let me challenge you. How? Okay. So Kelly, I went through a phase in my life and still sometimes teeter on this phase of struggling with the religion thing. Only because I was raised super duper Roman Catholic, super duper traditional, stand when the priest enters the room, humming hymns and singing songs and the blood of Christ, the body of Christ.
Yeah.
As an adult looking back, it's like, very culty. But in a way, the word cult doesn't necessarily have to mean a negative thing. A cult is just an organized group of people supporting one thing. But more often when you say, oh, they're in a cult, it's obviously like a mean thing or a bad thing or like a weird connotation. But like all religion's kind of a cult. We all look to a higher being of some kind and pray that higher being will help guide us through the difficult and the positive times in life.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just kind of struggle with the religion thing. Maybe it was just forced on me as a child. Like I did not want to go to church. I did not want to go to confirmation. I did not want to do any of that. And maybe that made it so that when I was an adult, I was like, I don't want to go to church. It's not because I don't believe. I just don't want to go.
I think that's the big thing that church got wrong, in my opinion. So I grew up in a very conservative house with, lots of rules and, Southern Baptist and very cult adjacent in some ways.
Sure.
But, and even like I don't know if you saw the documentary Shiny Happy People.
I haven't.
You should watch
Shiny Happy People.
Yeah, it's a good documentary. But those, like a lot of things they talk about in that, like I was like, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure we learned that curriculum in Sunday school. So I get that whole thing. My dad actually was excommunicated from the Catholic Church after he went to seminary. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Okay.
And he loved Jesus, and I'm 100% sure he is in heaven right now. He passed away this summer.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, me too. It really threw me for a loop, despite the fact that, he was 81 and we knew it was going to happen.
Not to make it about me, but funny enough, when I first talked to Larry, shout out to Larry, by the way, for connecting us. You were going to go, because at my previous company, there was a grand opening for a branch. I was or there was some kind of party or after hours Bartow event. Yeah. You were going to go. I went, and Larry was like, that's when you're going to meet Kelly. And then the day of, he was like, Kelly's not going. Her dad passed. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So I'm so sorry about all that.
Thank you.
That sucks.
It kind of threw our summer off, and it's been interesting. It's interesting world to live in without my dad, for sure.
Is your mom with us?
Yes.
Okay.
My parents were married for 59 years, together for 60. I don't even know that I'm going to like myself at 60. Imagine like another person liking them that long. It's amazing to me. But all of that to be said is that's what religion has gotten wrong, is that we were built and we were created for the rules, or in Catholics' case, the sacraments. When the truth is the sacraments were created for us. So if they are not serving you in the way of bringing you in your relationship with the living God together, then they're not for you. That's why there are different churches. That's why there are different paths. And I say paths, and that freaks Christians out because they're like, there's not more than one path. And it's like, well, there are a lot of paths. They all go through Jesus.
Right.
And I, do believe that they all go through the Bible, but, we get so stuck on these, things of, oh, but you think this is the right way and you think this is right way. When it's like, you're really just saying your favorite color's red and your favorite color's green.
Right.
And it's okay for us to have different colors that we like. And I think the church, just like in Jesus's day, when he was here on earth to right now, has almost always gotten in the way more than it has helped. And I hate that, because that's not what the church is for. The church is supposed to be a place of community. It's supposed to be a place where you can, have, meet others that are like-minded, but also help those that need help. And that usually means people need love. Yeah. So it all boils down to people need love. And that's what he was here to show. And all the other stuff is just noise. It's a good way to think about it. Yeah, it was just so forced. I now go to church in Kennesaw, to North Star Church. Good church. Mike Lynch,
yes, him. Had him on this podcast. He was a great guest. Yeah. Had the great Ike Reichert as well from Must Ministries, and
also a
Piedmont
great
Church. But yeah, Mike has a great thing at North Star, and North Star is a great church, very welcoming church, very, very welcoming to people like me who struggled with religion for a long time. Yeah. And saying like, listen, we just teach you lessons and weave religion into it and make you think about things a little differently. And I really like that. I've always been like real world examples. I like real world, practicalities, and like back in like grade school, like math word problems were my favorite because it would describe a real world situation where I could see it in my head and then figure out the math problem. Yeah. Whereas like I just hated like the long division problems, but give me the word problems all day and night. Yeah. Because it actually gives you real world problems. And North Star does that really, really well. And I love.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a good place. It's a good place. Feel kind of bad. Have not been in a while. It's one of those things that it's easy to say, oh, we'll go next week, because it's not like you're buying tickets. If you're buying tickets to church, which would be wrong.
Please don't do that.
Yeah, that'd be horrible. No. It'd be wrong. You're probably more inclined to go because you're like, oh, I paid for this. But and you could just wake up late on a Sunday and say, oh, I'm not going. I will say, though, for most of the times that we haven't gone, we do watch it. North Star streams their stuff online, and we will tune in and watch it at home. So, I mean, it's not like we're totally missing it, but it's not the same effect. I mean, being there in person, it's different, Yeah. It's a different kind of energy you feel.
Yeah. It doesn't count for or against your salvation to go or not to go to church, just so you know.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. It's not a sliding scale.
Yeah. That's I think what killed me growing up is because I feel like at the time, I don't know if they really believed this because I've never asked them, but I almost felt like my parents or the Catholic Church felt that way. Oh, if you don't go to church, you're going to hell.
Yeah. I think the Catholic Church does think that.
Yeah. If you don't show up.
Their hearts.
Yeah. I mean, so I don't really, I hate the word identify because it's tossed around so crazy nowadays, but I don't really identify as a Catholic anymore. I just kind of identify as a dude who believes and doesn't really, I don't like to be put in a box, Kelly. If you haven't figured that out yet, I don't like to be put in a
I
box.
fully respect that and could say the same thing about myself. I think most people would say about me that, oh, if you give her a box, she will find a way out.
Right.
Always.
I'm breaking down that box.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Probably one of my biggest red flag traits is my rebellion against almost anything. Luckily, my husband has figured out how to use it against me.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's totally like, well, I don't want you to do that. So therefore, I will do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Usually to his benefit then.
Oh, absolutely.
Of course. Love that.
Yeah. Or you can't. You can't do that.
Watch me. Where do you think the rebellious side of you comes from? Do you know?
I mean, probably a little bit from both of my parents in different ways. I think some things you're just born with. I always looked at rebellion growing up, looked at, oh, this is a negative, especially as I started to mature. And then later I realized, oh, maybe this is just part of one of those things that God gave me on purpose that really I call rebellion, but maybe it's that curiosity and that pushing boundaries that other people put that, oh, this wasn't really a boundary. This was a fake wall. Like I am the one that I am going to look behind the curtain and see what's going on, and that's kind of cool because those are the things that change things.
Right.
And so, being willing to push the rules, I think is a positive.
I think so.
I actually had a professor at Florida State. It was a writing, I think it was actually a poetry class. And he would always give us these crazy rules that we had to, okay, you're going to write this assignment. And then we'd have all of these rules. You has to be this, has to be that, has to be that. And I'm like, this is supposed to be a creative writing class. We can't have all of these rules. And he said, once you learn how to do within the box, within the rules, and that's how you learn how to break them. And it was a pretty profound statement, something that I've lived with.
What was your time like at Florida State? How would you describe it? What was that comment in the bio you gave me? Like every other good person in your family.
Oh yeah,
I detected something in that.
So I thought I had a choice about going to Florida State. No. Every good person in my family went to Florida State.
Oh, every good person went.
There was a few people that rebelled and didn't go to Florida State, but most everybody. And then my dad gets, slid in there because he paid for it, all of us, as well as my mom. He paid off my mom's student loans as well. So when we would ever go down to campus, he was like, I think I bought that building.
Right. I've funneled enough money to this school that they should put a plaque of my name on the wall somewhere.
Exactly. So so all of our family members, both my dad's side and my mom's side, lots of Florida State grads and everything. So
why Florida State?
So both of my parents are from Florida. Both are from Jacksonville.
Okay.
And they actually moved to Georgia because there was a hit out on my dad's life. So he had to move to get away from the mob, basically.
Okay, Kelly.
So you want to talk about him now?
Well, I don't have the privilege of being able to talk to him.
Yeah.
Because he has passed, of course. But excommunicated from the Catholic Church, hit out on his life.
Yeah.
This is the Kelly Nagel show today.
Yeah.
So we don't need to dive too deep into it. But what did your dad do?
So he was an undercover narcotics agent for most of my growing up.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's so badass.
Yeah. Did you see the movie Donnie Brasco?
No, but I know pretty.
So that was what he did.
Wow.
That was what he did. So he was a deep cover undercover narcotics agent in the Atlanta area, most of that. And so he has 2 books. So I'll bring you his books sometime.
Please do.
There are sold on Amazon. One's called The Seminarian, and his name is Anthony Corey with K-O-R-E-Y. And the other one is The Cop, the Minister, I think or The Minister, the Cop, something like that.
Wow.
And they are fiction. But
wow.
Not really.
That's crazy.
Yeah. He's a pretty amazing man. But But yeah, so that's why Florida State. And what I will say is I'm really glad we didn't have social media when I was there.
Do you think, why is that?
I would not be gainfully employed.
You don't think so?
No. Aren't you? I don't even know. And I say that I try and have compassion to my children now, because if I had access to put all of my worst decisions on display, I was dumb enough to I would have put all of my worst
You think
decisions.
So?
Oh yeah.
What do you mean your worst decisions though? I mean, come on, Kelly, give me something.
I mean, so I grew up in a very sheltered household.
So when you got out,
I got out. So here's a good example. I was not allowed to celebrate Halloween growing up because it's the devil's holiday.
Okay.
And so when I got to Florida State, we threw this huge Halloween party, obviously.
Of course.
And
you're in college, you're going to Halloween parties.
Yes.
When you're throwing them.
Yeah. And I dressed as a witch because I wasn't allowed to.
Jesus.
Yeah.
The rebellion strikes hard.
Oh, absolutely.
She just said, I'm not going to just go dressed as like a hot cat. I'm going to dress up as a witch.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh my God, that's badass. All right.
Although speaking of hot cats, Rich and I went to a Halloween party one time in San Diego after we met.
Yeah.
Fast forward a few years, and he was a Frenchman and I was a black cat.
Oh boy.
So yeah.
Wowza.
Yeah, it was pretty great. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I even had put fur on my back so people could pet me.
That's going to the extra level. And I appreciate that because
Yeah.
as a dude who, loves Halloween.
I love Halloween.
I never not go above and beyond.
Oh, yeah. And we have a huge Halloween party every year. We haven't for the last 2 years because we did this little thing called Nagel's Bagels that, it takes all of our time now.
Yeah.
So we haven't done it in the last couple of years, but we go all out. You can't come unless you're dressed in costume. We have a theme. It's a whole bit.
Do you normally do themes?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We love Halloween.
Oh yeah, I'm going to show you the last few years for me for Halloween.
I like it.
This year, I decided to dress as my current favorite music artist. It changes every year or so, but I decided to dress face tats and all as Post Malone.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I cried when I saw his performance with Brooks and Dunn.
Right?
Yeah, that was so good.
Right?
Yeah.
And then last year, I upload so many freaking podcast photos. I dressed as the Joker. I shaved my beard. I painted my face.
Yeah.
My wife painted my face because there's no way I would have been able to do that on my own. And yeah, I did the damn thing.
Ooh.
Green hair.
Like it.
All of it.
Looks good.
But I love Halloween.
Yeah.
I don't believe in just throwing on a football jersey and saying I'm Matt Ryan.
No.
No, that's not me.
No. Rich and I have done Sonny and Cher. We have done Beetlejuice and Lydia.
Incredible.
There's a few years that we kind of weren't couples costumes. I did the leg lamp from Christmas Story.
Oh my God.
And Rich was Ragnar Lothbrok from the Vikings show. He was addicted to it at the time.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a big deal in our house.
How did you dress as the leg from the Christmas Story?
Well, I actually made my costume. I'll have to find it on my phone. And I made my costume. I worked for a thread and stabilizer company at the time. I worked in that's what I did, was sew for a living.
Wow.
And so yes, I used fabric and a hula hoop, and I just took stuck my other leg up for every picture. So
oh my God.
There are only pictures of me with one leg.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty great. I'll send you a picture.
Please do. Okay, so anyway, you get out of the house, you go and you're throwing these Halloween parties.
Yes, and it's the first time I didn't have to tell anybody where I was going or what I was doing. And we lived on campus. I lived in a dorm, and it was a co-ed dorm. Such a bad idea.
Very bad idea.
Fantastic for me at the time, but
congratulations.
Yeah, still friends. So you should know my roommates from college. Mm-hmm. We are still friends. We see each other at least once a year.
I love that.
They're amazing people. Some of it is I have to be friends with them because they do have physical pictures of some of the things, and vice versa.
They've got, if you can't run for office.
No, we're mafia friends. You have to stay friends because we know too much about each other.
Oh boy.
So yeah.
Wow.
But they're amazing human beings. So
do they live local or are they in Florida? Or elsewhere?
One's in Jacksonville, one's in Fort Lauderdale, and one's in Greenville, South Carolina.
Okay. All great places. I love Greenville. Wow, that's fun.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
And we had a great time at school.
and you majored in literature?
So I was a creative writing major, actually double majored literature, creative writing, because why not? I mean, it was like, wait, I can get grades for reading. And they were like, well, yeah. And so I did that. And then I actually went to FAMU, Florida A&M, and got my journalism degree as well.
Okay.
So I was the only white girl in my classes because I graduated in 95. So this was, forever ago.
95.
Yeah.
Great year.
With Bobby Bowden was there. Football was actually good, unlike this year.
Wow.
But,
sad.
Yeah, I know.
I was born in 96. How about that?
Wow.
How's that make you feel?
You know what? I love being in my 50s because what happens as you age, especially for me, what has happened to me is that I no longer care what people think. And at 50 something, people actually ask you for advice and listen. They're not just doing it to hear you talk or to find a new reason to look at your boobs. It's, they actually are listening to you. So it's kind of fun.
Is that something you experience?
Oh, yeah. But see, I'm a girl. So
Yeah, I guess.
I used it to my advantage.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know how to manipulate them.
Yeah.
Manipulate them with the best of them.
Oh, well, yeah, there you go. Okay. So you go to Florida, you get out of Florida, you get out of college. What's your first immediate move after college?
I came back to Atlanta and worked for the Olympic Games.
How did that happen?
There was a guy that my dad had worked with who had an internship opened in the security department of the Olympic Games. And so the
security department.
Yes.
Oh boy.
So he got me the interview. And so I interviewed, I got this internship. And then as part of the internship, we figured out, okay, they figured out I was a good public speaker and I was a good writer. And so they sent me to post-certified training, which means that's peace officer standard and training. I went to learn how to be a certified instructor for the police academy. And that gave me the credibility I needed. So I wrote the basic security training program for all the security volunteers for the Olympic Games.
Really?
Yes.
That's really cool.
So if somebody came, and they came from everywhere, all of these people came, mostly retired cops and firefighters and things from all over came to be security volunteers for the Olympic Games. And they had to go through the training course that I wrote.
Wow.
And which it was kind of fun because I was, 2 years old, 20 something.
Wow.
Right? And then here's all these retired police chiefs
that you're telling what to do.
And the only time I have ever thrown up after a public speaking gig, because I can talk to anyone. I could talk to a group of 2 people or 5,000 people. It doesn't matter. I can talk.
Really?
Yeah. Never has been something that bothered me. But when I had to do the very first time I had to present my program live, and I had to do it to all of these men that knew my dad and knew who I was and basically thought, oh, bless her heart, daddy got her a job. Understandable. That's the way it looked. I get it. And until they, saw what I did,
your work spoke for itself.
Yeah, they had every right to think that. And so I had to do this training live for them where they had to be my students. Wow. And it was a 4-hour training course. And I immediately, after it was over, went to the bathroom, threw up really? Over and over. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. And
hold up. So the 96 Olympics, Atlanta.
Yeah.
What an experience because of the bomb threat.
Went off in my venue.
Well, not even the bomb threat, but the bomb itself.
The actual bomb went off in my venue. It was not one of the security guards I had trained. He was one of the extra security guards that had been brought in for the park. And but it was devastating.
I said I loved history, but now I'm forgetting. Did they end up up catching the dude? I know the whole Richard Jewell story.
Yes, they did end up catching him.
Did you know him?
It was It was years and years and years later.
Okay.
Because he was a survivalist, so he survived on the Appalachian Trail for like years.
Yeah.
And basically kind of around Murphy. I don't remember if Murphy's in Tennessee or not, but that part of the Appalachian Trail, he spent a lot of time right there and would just kind of go into town and like dumpster dive and things like that. But yeah, so
they finally got his ass.
Yeah, but it was years and years later.
I do remember my only experience with the 96 Olympic Games is watching the movie Richard Jewell that came out a few years ago.
Yeah.
And so I remember like, okay, so that dude was a security guard at the Olympic Games and then he got accused of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then years later they caught the guy, maybe. I don't know. Okay, so they did catch the guy.
They did catch the guy. Yeah. The good thing about all of that, I know that's crazy to say something good, but it really brought to light the fact how different cop organizations, not, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Law enforcement organizations did not talk to each other. And there was so much ego with these different organizations.
Well, that's why serial killers were such a thing in the 80s and 90s and the 70s, because police department in Kennesaw might not talk to the police department in Marietta.
Exactly.
And there's a dude on the loose and maybe the Kennesaw Police Department has this ego thing and they're like, well, we can solve it ourselves. We don't need the help of anyone else. And that's why people like Ted Bundy was on the loose for years and years and years before he got caught.
Well, and the internet. There wasn't the internet.
True.
So it's like not like you could just go in and look and see this whole database.
Right.
So
imagine, do you think if the internet had existed, people like Bundy would have gone as long as they did?
I don't
think so either.
Yeah.
Because think about just
I also don't think they would have been able to not post.
Right. Oh.
You know, think about it. A serial killer is all about,
like bragging.
Bragging.
They got an ego problem.
They can't help it.
Wow. Imagine like Ted Bundy's tweets.
Yeah. Because have you seen
just chopped up a dude.
Right.
Horrible. Sorry.
Seriously.
He wasn't after dudes though. That's Dahmer I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Bundy was the young girl person.
At Florida State.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. What year was that?
You
weren't there.
No, it was before. And I think it was after my mom, because my mom went to Florida State too. It was after my mom, but before me, obviously. So
we do have a computer.
Oh, we do.
Chi Omega. That's the sorority that July 1979. Oh, he was found guilty of killing Florida State University students. 70s. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, what a life you've had, dude. Your dad was in the mafia. I mean, he wasn't in the mafia.
He was mafia adjacent.
We don't need to go back to that. But so he was full blown, like, would live with these people for years undercover.
His office was the Cheetah 3. He posed as a child pornography kingpin.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was one of his
What a
things.
fucked up thing to...
Right.
Was he told to be that guy?
I think it depends. So, I mean, I just think it depended on his role. Like that was part of it. Sometimes he was a drug dealer. It just depended on what was needed. But believe it or not, that was a pretty safe one, because if you're a drug dealer, a lot of times they want you to actually take the drugs, and he didn't want to do that. So, this was, he was able to get into, he did some pretty major drug busts.
Yeah. Well, good for him.
Yeah.
Great decorated career, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. Yeah, we don't need to go back to him. This is the Kelly Nagel. So your maiden name was what?
Corey.
Kelly Corey.
Yes.
Ooh, you've got like that college girl, like, ooh, Kelly Corey down the hall. What you think about Kelly? Oh, dude, I could just see it now. She's dressed as a witch. Did you see her? Damn. Okay, so you finished the Olympic Games. So then you get out of this internship. Then what?
So I actually turned into a paid position.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
I worked for them throughout the entire Olympic Games. And then after the Olympics was over, I quote unquote ran away from home, as my parents would say. I had one of those moments where I was sitting in a bar in probably Virginia Highlands area, something like that. And my life flashed before my eyes. I knew exactly what the rest of my life was going to be. And I was terrified by that.
Really?
And I was like, you know what? I have never even crossed the Mississippi before. And so I was like, I'm going to move. And was one of those moments where it was like, wait, I can do that. It was this light bulb that I actually had full control over my life.
I'm an adult. I could just go.
Like, I am an adult and I actually have money and I can do this. Now, I still hid it from my parents. I did like all the planning that I could do from my parents until 2 weeks before.
And you just dropped it on their lap.
And I was like, in 2 weeks, I'm moving to San Diego, California. I had never even seen a picture of San Diego. I did not even know exactly where it was until I went to AAA because, this is before we really used the internet the way we used it now.
Wow.
So I went to AAA to get my little trip ticket because they give you this map that said, I'm leaving from Atlanta to drive to San Diego. Give me a route. And they give you this like map thing to go. That was when I knew where San Diego was.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
So
for being honest,
I know
that's crazy.
Yeah, it is a paper map that like looks like a notebook.
What's paper?
I know, and it was this that looks like a notebook, and you like flip it. Every page is a different part of the map.
Oh my God!
We mapped out a route from Atlanta to San Diego and going to every like stop that I wanted to go to.
Okay.
And
how long did it take you?
It took me a little over a week, maybe 2.
Yeah.
I don't exactly remember.
So would you like stop and stay in a few places, maybe explore a couple cities?
Yes. I stopped at, kind of all the major things I wanted to see. And
you did this all alone?
I did it alone. My dad forbid me. And I was like, well, with all due respect,
I'm going.
You can't. Yeah. My mom made me go see the pastor at our church because she thought for sure that I was losing my mind. But yeah, I did it anyway. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a place to live. So I do kind of get it. And like, if I look at my children right now and I think, holy shit, like if they did that, I would freak out. I mean, I freak out the fact that.
Do you have siblings? Sorry to interrupt you.
I do. I have an older brother.
Okay.
He's 4 years older than me.
Okay. So it wasn't like their only child was like packing up and leaving them.
No, but I was the only daughter.
Okay.
And
of course. Yeah.
So and the baby. And
yeah, of course.
It was the first real time that I was actually, to their knowledge, going against what they were saying.
Mm.
And yeah. so I packed up and drove. And
wow,
it was
that's really
amazing.
admirable.
And I saw the Mississippi for the very first time all by myself, and I saw the Grand Canyon for the first time all by myself, and I saw the Balloon Festival in Albuquerque, and it was really great. Saw Los Angeles.
What did you think of the Grand Canyon?
I have to think about this because before I saw Yosemite, it was the most amazing thing I'd seen. And pictures don't capture it.
No.
It's so vast and so wild. And there are no fences. Like you could just fall off.
Yeah.
And that's so weird for me, especially at that time in my life when I had been pinned in so much by all of these safety boundaries. And I don't say that in a negative way. It just is what you do with your children, right? And it's just like, it just felt so wild and free.
Yeah, I lived in Phoenix for a period of time growing up. And I remember the first time we went to the Grand Canyon. And same thing. It's like, I could just trip and fall in.
Yeah.
And die.
Yeah.
But you hear stories about people like camp down there, and like one of my cousins got proposed to down in the Grand Canyon. And then like, I mean, it's huge. It's almost one of those things that you walk up to like the balcony with the handrail that has like this weird, description like, oh, the Grand Canyon is this, and you look at it and you're like, it almost looks fake. It's so big that it looks fake.
Yes.
It's like, oh my God, it looks like that this is just a giant, like someone's got like a giant, like teacher's like projection screen pulled down. And then at the end of the day, someone just rolls it up and it's just regular Earth. But it looks fake.
Maybe we are all really in a simulation.
Sometimes I think about that. I'm not a big conspiracy theory guy, but sometimes I'm like,
every once in a while I look for glitches. Just saying.
I've seen a few.
Yeah. And that was the prevailing opinion for me for Grand Canyon until I
was fake?
and it was just so big and so amazing. And so like you had to go to understand it. And I'm like, this is the greatest place in the world until I went to Yosemite. And
Yeah.
then I realized, no, if the Holy Spirit had a physical address on earth, it is Yosemite National Park.
I remember stepping up to the Grand Canyon for the first time and thinking, after standing there for a couple minutes looking at it, you're like, wow. All right, let's go. Because it's not like you can interact with the Grand Canyon unless you go hiking down in there or something. It's one of those things that you just stare at for like a few minutes and you're like, okay, I could go. Like it's just a giant painting. Like, you know?
It is. I don't
Maybe
know.
if I go back as an adult rather than a kid,
yeah.
I would appreciate it more. But as a kid, I was like, so?
I was in a very contemplative place in my life when I was there. So I think for me, it was a little different too because of that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you were...
I spent lots of hours there just with my feet dangling over, just thinking about like what the hell I was doing.
Wow.
So, because it really was my first time of not having a safety net, not having it was like I was either going to figure out how to live my life on my own, or I was calling daddy and saying I failed, send me money to get a plane ticket home.
Was that ever an option in your head?
Absolutely.
Or were you determined, like, I'm not going back?
I didn't want to, but I think what gave me the courage to go and do it was the fact that I knew that no matter what happened, I was a phone call away from safety. Uh-huh. And I think that having that knowledge has made me a huge risk taker in my life. And that I know even now, like just that I had such security, both I grew up in a very secure home with, two parents that loved each other and loved me. Mm-hmm. And I have, a really secure relationship and, with my husband and my family, that because of that, like there have been many times when I thought, I can do whatever I want because nothing's going to stop those people from loving me. And that's all that really matters. And so it's made me probably like if my mother hears this podcast, she'll be like, oh my gosh, I screwed up royally. I'm the reason why she did all those crazy things. No.
Do you think your mom will hear this?
Maybe. I'll probably send it to her. Yeah. Yeah, and then she'll reprimand me for cussing on here.
Shout out to Kelly's mom.
Yes, she's the most amazing woman to ever walk the earth.
That's awesome.
100%.
I love that.
Yeah.
Hey, Kelly's mom, I'll be one of your adopted grandkids now. I'm now part of the family.
She'll love you.
That's great. Is she local?
She is. She lives in Kennesaw.
Beautiful.
In the house I grew up in.
Beautiful.
And you should know that she can insult you. You will thank her, and it'll be 3 days later that you'll be like, wait, that was not a compliment.
Coming from a dude who moved around the country a lot growing up and only lived in the South now the last 10 years, I realized that Southerners are really good at that.
Oh, yeah.
They will say some shit to you, and then you'll realize that they weren't actually sticking up for you or feeling sorry for you. The term bless your heart up north means something completely different. It means that they're actually feeling sorry for you. I think, as a guy who wasn't a Southerner, my friends will disagree with me and they'll say that when we say it down here, that doesn't mean that we're making fun of you. I'm like, well, sometimes it feels that way. Oh. It's the tone.
Okay, they're lying to you. Sometimes we really are blessing your heart.
Yes.
Very rarely, though.
But like if I tripped on a curb and you're thinking like, what an idiot. You're like, oh, bless your heart.
But like, for example.
Hit me.
This may have happened to you at Thanksgiving.
Okay.
You brought a dish and they said, oh, bless your heart. Was this your first time trying this particular recipe? That means it was awful.
Yeah.
And next year you get to bring napkins.
Yeah. It means, oh, that sucks. You get to bring the plastic spoons.
Right. Bless his heart. He graduated college this year. That was not a compliment.
You're an idiot.
No one thought he would finish. Yeah. Who do you think he paid off? Just say, bless his heart. Did you see what his parents were doing last week? That is actually feeling sorry for you because, oh, wow, you grew up that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now, bless his heart, he got to the South as soon as he could. That's a compliment.
Yeah. It's just all tone.
Oh, absolutely.
Tone, facial expression, body language.
Yeah.
It can change anything.
Absolutely.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that feels nasty.
Think it really is good for me.
I don't think you mean that at all. I think you actually despise me.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get to San Diego. You live there for a few years. You meet Rich.
Yes.
And then you guys have kids out there.
Yes.
Did you ever think you were going to stay out there?
I thought we would stay.
Okay.
When I moved to San Diego, because that was, I found my independence. It was great. I was like, yeah, this is where we're going to be. But this was before kids. Well, so when Rich and I got married, we were like, no, we're not having kids. We also basically only admitted we were friends to anyone in public until we got engaged.
Okay.
I'm like, oh, no, he's just a friend. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we got engaged and it's like, well, maybe he's more than a friend. So, but we were like, oh no, we're not having kids. And then we obviously did have kids, but we thought, and San Diego is the perfect place to be in your 20s. And Rich lived a block and a half from the beach, and it was great. And then when we did get married, we lived in an apartment this size of this room, and it was 425 square feet.
Holy shit.
It was so tiny. One of my friends said you had to go outside to change your mind. It was so small, which is kind of true.
So what was there? Kitchen on that wall, bed right here, TV right there.
So, yeah. So okay, door, living, kitchen, kind of same thing. We had to push the table up against the wall or you couldn't get into the kitchen.
Right.
And then you walked through the bathroom to get to the tiny little bedroom. And I remember we got in a fight one time. I went and sat in the closet. Because I couldn't be anywhere else and not
arguing
see him.
Arguing in a 1-bedroom apartment is fun because it's you stay over there and I'm going over here and you're still within 6 feet of each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's funny. 425 square feet.
Yeah.
Good God.
It was tiny.
I lived in a 700 square foot apartment and thought that was small.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
People that live in New York, they might hear this are like, I live in a closet.
Yeah. They're like, you're lousy with space.
I have a microwave and a toilet in the same room. You're like, oh.
Yes,
nice.
Absolutely. But when we did have kids and that was when I realized, oh yeah, I need my mama. I can't raise these 2 girls 16 months apart without family support. So, and Rich already figured out that he was a redneck. He didn't know.
Born and raised in San Diego?
No, he was born and raised in Los Angeles, the bad part. Yeah. So,
don't mess with him.
No. Okay. No. The girls were not allowed to ride the school bus, despite the fact that we lived in Cartersville, Georgia, because, when he rode the school bus, he had to get off and run home so that he didn't get into a gang fight.
Jesus Christ.
Literally. Yeah. Yeah. So the devil drives the school bus, apparently. Yeah. So our girls were never allowed to ride the school bus, which was fine. But he figured out. And so he figured out he's a big old redneck. He loved everything about the South. He loved being here. He loved the slower pace, everything. He also figured out that Southerners aren't that much different than gang members because we only trust people that have been vouched for. Mm-hmm. And most of those people are family. Mm-hmm. We are going to stick up for them even when they're wrong. And we know everybody by their colors because you buy your whatever college team that you support.
Oh, true.
That's how we
thought you were going a different way with that one.
So no, whatever college team. So, it's, little different than Bloods and Crips, but not all that much. And we all carry guns.
Are you carrying right now?
Well, not right now in the studio, but
okay.
I got one in my car.
Okay.
So,
gotcha.
So you don't grow up with an undercover narcotics agent as your father and not always have a gun.
You know what's funny about that is I was actually thinking, as I was waiting for you to pull up today, is I was like, I wonder how many people are ever slightly afraid of showing up here alone. They don't have a reason to be.
Huh.
But a lot of my guests, if you look at my episode list, a lot of my guests are women. I'd say a solid 80% are. Because through doing this, I've realized that girls like to talk about themselves more than guys do.
Interesting.
And I have this weird complex when it comes to men. I almost get a little intimidated by other men.
Interesting.
Because I don't really consider myself a macho man. I'm very, I don't want to say a beta because that's not true, but I'm very not like your traditional, like when I think of a man, I think about like my dad who liked sports, played college football and baseball, who can lay tile and build a house from scratch. Like he just knows everything. I'm not that guy. I don't really care for sports. I support them. I'm in the South. I had to pick a team when I got here.
Obviously, you're not allowed in the club
No.
unless you pick a color.
Yeah, and I picked red and black.
It's a safe choice.
Yeah,
You're in Georgia.
very safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of my friends went there. My wife's a fan, so therefore I'm a fan.
Absolutely.
I'm a fake fan. Don't tune in every Saturday.
It's okay.
In fact, I don't even know if they played yesterday. Did they?
They did.
Did they win?
You're good.
Who'd they play?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yep.
Sorry.
I don't know. I have no idea.
So I probably should know. Because Florida State is so bad this year.
Yeah. Even I know that.
Yeah.
Not a sports guy, but I know that.
I have my mother allowed me to. So we have taken the year off.
Okay.
So we figured that's the best way to still support.
Sure.
Without, and not badmouth because they're still teenage boys. And so it's important to remember that this does not affect our daily life, but it does affect theirs. So I don't go online. I don't do any of that.
Yeah, sure.
They are teenage boys learning how to live life. And so even with all this money that gets thrown at them.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. Yeah. I find it, so it's interesting that you say that because I think one of the biggest issues, one of the things that I would like people to talk about more is this concept of what is masculine and what is feminine. Because I think because we have chosen to narrow our view so much that a man looks like this and a woman looks like this is part of, and not all of, because I do, this isn't something that I personally am affected by. So this is an intellectual opinion.
Okay.
I will say that out front. But I think that maybe that falls into some of this thing of people thinking they were born in the wrong body.
Sure.
Because we as a society have narrowed our view as what is masculine and what is feminine to such a point that we feel like it's not okay to spread that out a little bit, that you can like a lot of things and be a lot of things and do a lot of things. And that can still be considered in the realm of masculine and in the realm of feminine. And
like when I think about like hunting and fishing, I haven't done either of those things in at least 15 years. I've never been hunting. I'd love to go hunting, but at the same time, it's not something I'm like chomping at the bit at doing. If someone's like, you want to go hunting? I'm like, yeah, hell yeah. But if you gave me a list of things I could have done today and hunting was on the list, I'll probably choose one of the other things.
You know what happens when you go hunting? This is the biggest problem with hunting.
What?
You have to be quiet.
Yeah, I'm not good at that.
The whole time.
Anyone who knows me just laughed out loud.
For like hours.
Yeah, I'm not good at that. I get
neither.
antsy sitting in the same place. Yeah.
They sit in tree stands. It is a seat.
I mean, just in the hour and 17 minutes that we've been sitting here, I switch positions quite frequently. Have you noticed that?
I did.
You've been very, very still, and I respect it because I can't do that.
Oh, it comes with age. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't know. I've always struggled with this macho man complex thing, and it's like I've always felt that other men look at me and see he's a bitch.
Oh, I doubt that.
I do doubt that, but there's also like if I got stood up, like I stand next to another man, I'm like, oh, he's more manly than me. Like that's the first thing I think of. I'm like, am I more manly than that guy or is he more manly than me?
So,
which I don't know where that comes from.
yeah. So I think part of your challenge, one of your challenges for this year is going to be to challenge your idea of masculinity.
It would be nice because I would like to get rid of that because there's a lot of, not that it's a problem, but I do have like probably 90% female guests, and I'd like to get some men in there.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of really great dudes out there that have great stories to tell. But
one thing I've noticed already about you that you could harness this power, especially with men, is you are very disarming. Like it's easy to talk to you. And I bet that there are some men that wouldn't tell parts of their story. They wouldn't be as vulnerable to somebody else, but they'd be able to be vulnerable with you. And that's a positive thing.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's nice. I'm also really hard on myself too. I don't really like accept compliments really well. Like just you saying that, I'm like, and I don't know where that comes from. A lot of it, I talk about this with my therapist. Thank you. My two younger siblings were superstar athletes. I was not. I was not a sports person. Every sport I tried, I failed miserably at. I was always a video game, movie, creative, writing person, not an athlete. And I feel like most people, especially in high school was tough for me. Like most dudes in high school are like athletes, and if they're not athletes, then they're psychos. And I was afraid of that. I was afraid of like the football team looking at me and thinking like, what a bitch.
Well, and that was probably made harder by the fact you moved so much.
Maybe. Yeah.
Because you didn't get, when you couldn't find your little niche as easily moving around when it's pretty easy to jump on a new football team.
Right. And I wish back in the day acted how I act now, because I feel like I could have been either the most annoying dude in school or the most popular, or maybe both at the same time.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of popular people in high school that were really annoying. And I was like, oh, they're only popular because they're funny. And now I'm funny. So I feel like I could have been popular. But Does popularity even matter?
No.
Not really.
No, as a matter of fact, like if you think back on it, really, isn't that just an extra level of stress that you probably didn't need to experience at that developmental stage?
No, not at all. I mean, dude, I got home from school and played Call of Duty. I didn't play sports. I didn't play nothing. I played Call of Duty with my friends that I did have. And it was great because I didn't have to worry about what I was going to wear to a high school party or what I was going to wear to the bonfire. Or I stayed and played video games till 2 a.m.
Or that you say one wrong thing and then the whole school now hates you.
Right.
Which can happen in those groups.
This is vulnerability. I don't know if I've ever said this publicly.
Oh, I'm excited.
This is a breaking news story here.
Okay.
January 3rd, 2025, the day that everyone's hearing this. I think I said one wrong thing when I was in 8th grade. And for 8th grade, 9th grade, and 10th grade, everyone thought I was gay. And back then, being gay
was awful.
Yeah. And everyone made fun of me. I don't even know if my parents know this.
Wow.
It was very, very dark. That's when I started writing a lot. I started writing poetry a lot. I started writing songs a lot. And I would just write my feelings out on paper. And yeah, people thought I was gay for like 3 years. And at the time, it was horrible.
Yeah.
Because that was the time where people were throwing the F word around, not the F-U-C-K word.
Yeah.
Around like it was, hot potato.
Yeah.
And if people thought you were gay, it was a problem.
Yeah. Well, and 8th grade's awful anyway.
Yeah.
So.
And I was also not an athlete, super skinny, and people thought I was gay. So
I wonder if that hasn't affected your view of masculinity, because you had such a negative relationship with what is masculine, what is feminine, what is right, what is wrong at such a formative age.
Maybe it could be. I've never even explored that with therapy, and now I'm going to bring it up next time.
I feel like you should.
I really should. Shout out to my therapist.
But I also want to thank you for being able to say it out loud. That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah. I've similarly how you say that you feel like I'm disarming. I like that. That's a nice word to say.
Yeah.
I feel like you're also disarming. You're very like I just feel just comfortable. And I felt that as soon as we met at the shop as well. I was like, oh, Kelly's going to be great. Like I got home that night and I was like, dude, she's going to be a great guest because she just knows how to talk to people. She knows how to vibe with people. And I'm feeling that now. I hope you are as well.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I've never said that out loud before. I don't even know if my wife knows.
Wow. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a really tough time. But thankfully, I mean, I never really was excited about moving growing up because I had to do it so often. I had to leave my friends. Moving from that city was a blessing.
Absolutely.
Because I got to start fresh.
Yeah.
And there wasn't really social media or Facebook. I think Twitter existed and Facebook existed, but I didn't have either of them because my parents were like, social media is the devil. Anything you put on the internet will stay there.
And they were right.
And they are right.
You know who Sarah Blakely is?
Yeah.
So it's interesting how many men don't. I'm glad you do. Actually, even women now don't know who. So
Interesting.
In case your audience doesn't, Sarah Blakely started the company Spanx.
Yes. I follow her on LinkedIn, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. One of the first billionaires, female billionaires, I mean, in history, but also in Georgia. She's from Atlanta.
I did not know that.
Yes, she's from Atlanta.
Amazing.
And she was a door-to-door like fax machine salesperson. Talk about horrible, right? And you should just go find some YouTube videos where she talks about like how she changed her mindset in order to create Spanx. But one of the stories that she tells that I love, she said her father when they would every week they'd have dinner, the family dinner, and he would say, "What have you failed out this week?" And which is a little weird question, right?
Very.
And so with her and her brother, so she would say, "Well, I tried out for the volleyball team and I sucked," and her dad would go, "That's great. That's awesome." And, different things. If she didn't have anything to share, he was disappointed. He was like, "Oh, wow." And she realized later in life that what he was doing was reframing what failure really meant. Because for him and for reality, right, failure is not trying in the first place. Trying and not succeeding in something is not failure. That is learning something new about yourself. That is, an opportunity to try it a different way, those kind of things. And so I always, when people are like, "Oh, I'm just afraid to fail," or, "I'm afraid of embarrassing myself," or whatever. And I'm like, well, the alternative is you'll never know. So why not? Just do it. Like, go balls out and fail, make mistakes. I tell people all the time, like I've made some of my favorite mistakes in San Diego or in college and, embarrassed myself royally, but okay. It's made me who I am. That's a great thing.
Yeah.
It's
I agree
better
with
than
that.
sitting on the sideline.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that.
So,
I mean, you guys get back to Georgia.
Yeah.
And then what'd you do when you got back to Georgia work-wise?
So when we first got back, I still had this delusion that I could be a stay-at-home mom. And I really thought, and no, I grew up in a very traditional home. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. She loved it. I had lots of friends that loved being stay-at-home moms.
My mom was a stay-at-home mom.
And there are a lot of great things about it. I was horrible at it. I really was. And so the girls were pretty young. I mean, I got them through, infancy, basically. And then I got to a point where I realized, and I had a really good friend who's an amazing woman who basically told me, like, "Kelly, it's okay if this isn't your thing. Like, you have to be a complete person in order to be a good parent. And God didn't make a mistake giving you as the parent of these children. And if you need to work in order to be a good parent, then you go to work." And so I did. A friend of mine and I opened a coffee shop and we hired a nanny. Best thing we could have ever done. Actually,
hiring a nanny or opening a coffee shop?
Both, actually.
Okay.
But definitely, Kayla, man, that woman saved our life. And we are still friends with her. Actually, my children babysit her kids now.
Wow. The tables have turned.
Yes, they really have. She is the most amazing woman.
Incredible.
And so I opened a coffee shop and it was really fun. It was difficult, but it was fun, and we got to kind of learn about that world.
Why coffee?
I love coffee. I know more about coffee than one human should know about coffee.
Really?
Yes.
Are you a coffee snob?
I am a coffee snob.
Uh-oh.
I'm very much a coffee snob.
Okay, sweet.
So I have a favorite country where my coffee beans come from.
Is it Colombia?
No, I like Ethiopian coffee from the Misty Valley. So yes, a specific region of Ethiopia.
Do you import it?
And I don't, but our roaster does. Okay. And that's actually not what we have in the shop. It's a very distinctive flavor. One of the shops that carries our bagels up in LJ, actually called Hemlock Bazaar, he has, and the coffee is called Jackalope at his place. It's and it is Ethiopian from Misty Valley. So it's a really good. That's my favorite, but it's a very distinctive flavor. So the coffee we sell at the shop is from Blue Collar Joe, which you can mail order, Blue Collar Joe coffee. And it's a blend of Guatemalan and Papua New Guinea is our blend. And then we do the single origin Guatemala as well.
Wow.
So yeah, very smooth, lots of caffeine in it.
So you've also, because you guys opened this coffee shop, you've had that like entrepreneurial bug.
Yes.
Kind of. At least ever since the coffee shop.
Yes. Yeah. And I had done a few other things in San Diego. I'd done some event planning and wedding planning and had done some consulting work and things like that. I realized I had a knack for special events, fundraising, and things like that, marketing. And so I did a lot of those kind of things. After the coffee shop, we sold that, and I started working for the thread and stable, because my hobby had always been sewing. Okay. I've always sewn since I was a kid. My mom taught me. And so I started doing social media for this company, and then kind of moved into the role of creating for them. And then I was traveling too much for two girls in middle school, and Rich was traveling too. He was working for pharmaceutical companies, and so he was traveling all over. So I came home, and I actually started working for a credit union doing business development. So still, out networking and stuff. My mom knew she's like, this is just your rebound job. You're not actually going to love this. She's like, they will require a box that you will not be able to stay in. And she was right.
Feels.
Yeah. And she was right. And I'm like, what do you mean you have to know where I am every second
Is that credit union
of the
local?
Day? Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Not a bad credit union. It truly isn't. And really, and I am like still friends with people that work there. It just wasn't me.
Right. It wasn't the right fit.
I'm a little too bossy to have a boss, quite frankly. And
I can see you being a very cool, but also very stern boss.
That's probably a good description.
Very, very cool when things are good, but like get your shit done. Kind of boss.
Oh yeah.
Like that's not right. Go back and do it again.
Yeah.
But also like your best friend.
Yeah.
Like when the time is appropriate.
Yeah. Yeah. And I care, especially all of the people at Nagel's, and most of them are young and impressionable. So I definitely want to be a mentor type person, but that means telling them the truth in love, even when it's hurtful. And our society doesn't do that really well. So there's not very many people they hear that from. Sure. And so I actually really enjoy that part of being able to talk to our staff and really feel like I can mentor them and be the one to say some things that, this will help you in the future.
Yeah. You might not like it right now, but you'll thank me in a couple of years.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
So you guys work these jobs, and then all the while you say Rich is starting Nagel's Bagels in your basement. Yeah. So how?
We were literally sitting on the couch. It is June of 2019. I only know because both girls are away at summer camp. And we are sitting on the couch, and Rich goes, I'm going to see if I can make a bagel. Because we had always kidded, Nagel's Bagels, and actually when I had the coffee shop is when he was traveling, especially to New Jersey and New York and, all these places with good bagels. And so he came down, he's like, why don't you have any bagels? And I'm like, are you kidding? It's the South. We're the land of the biscuit. And he's like, well, we need bagels. And I'm like, well, then figure it out, Nagel Bagel, kiddingly.
Right. Sure.
And so fast forward years later, we're sitting on the couch. He goes, I'm going to see if I can make a bagel. And he starts Googling a few recipes and he tries a few and they're awful. Like some of them couldn't even be like a bagel. It was like an anchor. It was like just this big blob and it was awful. So I go and pick the girls up from summer camp and I'm like, okay, listen, your dad's making bagels. Be nice. Like they're not good yet. But this is the cheapest hobby he's ever picked up. So we're going to encourage it.
Yeah.
And it actually ended up being good. He's a very scientific brain. And so the fact that he couldn't, like, it didn't just come naturally to him, made him dive in and he did a bunch of research and he figured out how to make the perfect bagel. And the cool thing about that is a lot of people who do get into the bagel business is because there's a reason they grew up in it. Their dad did it, whatever. They have a recipe or they're from New York and they want to make them just like that. So they have these parameters that they have to stick to. And Rich is like, no one's the boss of me. I can make this however I want.
Yeah.
And so we break a lot of rules, which, not surprising at this point.
Rebels.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. So he's making bagels, trying out, giving them out to friends just to, get feedback.
Yeah.
And he gave some to a girl across the street who was having her running club over for the evening. And one of the people in the running club actually ran the Cartersville Farmers Market. Okay. And so she calls us up. This is like a Wednesday. She calls us up on Thursday. She goes, "You're in the farmers market this weekend." And we're like, "What?" We didn't know that was a big deal. Like there's like a waiting list to get into the farmers market. Right. We didn't know that. And we're like, okay. So we take like 6 or 7 hours to make like 12 dozen bagels, which is
a lot of bagels.
Well, now we make like 100 dozen bagels in a day. So it's not a lot now.
Right.
But back then, yeah, when we're using a regular oven in the KitchenAid in our kitchen, it took forever and we made these bagels and we sell out in less than an hour at the farmer's market.
Holy hell.
And we're like, oh, okay. So then we're like, okay, well, we'll do this. We start doing the farmer's market and still at this point, we're like, this is a great hobby that might pay for a vacation.
Right.
Sure. And then 2020 happened and I got laid off from my job. Understandably, it was my rebound job. They probably should.
This was the credit union?
Yeah, the credit union. So I got laid off and so we were like, well, let's just try it full time. And so we pivoted a little bit. We did no contact, no free delivery anywhere like within 90 miles.
Wow.
And so you could place an order online and we would deliver to you. And that ended up being a really good marketing decision for us because we got our name out big time in lots of different places.
Where's the farthest you guys delivered to?
And I delivered once to south of Atlanta. Wow. So it was like more than an hour away.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Because you guys live in Cartersville?
We do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so, so we delivered wherever people would, order from.
Amazing.
And we kept doing farmers markets because farmers markets didn't close.
Right.
Rich was still doing his day job.
Okay.
And
meanwhile, you had gotten laid off. So you were like, okay, I'm going to do more this bagel stuff while Rich is doing his full-time job.
Yeah. And then one of Rich's friends was a commercial contractor and built us a commercial kitchen in our basement. We were the first certified by the Department of Ag commercial kitchen in a residence, I think in the state of Georgia.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Wow.
But see, Rich had worked for pharmaceutical companies. He built this thing like a clean room. I mean, you walk in there, it was perfect. And of course, all of his documentation was perfect. Sure. I mean, they had no reason to.
T's were crossed, I's were dotted.
Right. And so this is what we're doing. And we really never thought we would do an actual store. We really still thought we would just do wholesale, do farmers markets, maybe a few events, that we just stick to this. And then we needed a bigger kitchen. And so we were looking for spaces, and the space where we're in now opened up in Cartersville. Mm-hmm. And we had looked lots of we'd looked in Marietta. We, actually thought we had a place here and that fell through. We looked in Ackworth, something fell through, Kennesaw, all of them, and then this place in Cartersville came up and it was perfect. And we had always said, if we're going to do an actual cafe, it has to be on Main Street. It has to be in a historic building. It has to look a certain way.
Sure.
And so when it came up, we were like, okay, I guess this is what we're supposed to do. So,
wow.
And that was in June of 2022 that we opened that.
So maybe, I told you this when we sat down originally, but I had assumed, I don't do a ton of research on my guests before I sit down with them because I like to learn as you're telling the story. And I had assumed that Nagel's Bagels was a long, long, historic, famous business. And I mean, you guys have developed, I mean, maybe that's just a testament of the work you've done in just the last 5 years, but you guys have such a popular and really iconic name, at least in the Cartersville, Ackworth, Kennesaw area, that I just assumed Nagel's Bagels was something that had been passed down from generation to generation. But the fact that you guys have built such an incredible name for yourselves in just under 5 to 10 years is truly just incredible and so admirable.
Well, thank you.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
So inspiring.
It's a lot of synergy that came together. I mean, the product has to be good, right? You can't, no matter how much marketing you do and what, avenues you do, if the product isn't good, it's not going to work.
Which, to interrupt you, folks, it's fucking awesome. When we moved to Cartersville, I'm not a big breakfast guy. I don't eat a lot of breakfast. I don't.
Oh, it's the best meal.
Which now, after meeting my wife, she's a big breakfast girly. So now, of course, I have breakfast all the time. And now my body knows it's time to eat in the morning, which before I met her, I didn't have to eat till lunch and I was fine. But, we went to a farmer's market in downtown Cartersville. And we're like, this Nagel's Bagels place, we hear so much about it. We got to try it, I guess. And I was like, but I'm not even a big bagel guy. Like I'm not a big breakfast sandwich guy. I do love a great bacon, egg, and cheese, which is my go-to order at Nagel's Bagels on a plain bagel because I'm lame.
I was going to say, we should mix that up a little.
In fact, whoever was working the cashier was like, plain? And I was like, yes, I'm basic. I know I'm just loser. But we tried it, and we both got iced coffees, we both got sandwiches, and immediately upon first bite, I was like, holy shit, like this is good.
Yeah.
Like this is real good.
Yeah.
To the point where I was like, I got to go back. And I'm not a breakfast guy again. So like my wife's hearing me say this was like, really? And I was like, yeah, we should come here like every day or every weekend at least. She's like, really? And I was like, yeah, we got to come back. And so we have made a habit. And
I love it.
Now I work from home sometimes because I left my old job and now I have a work from home opportunity a few days a week. And when I tell you, it crosses my mind every morning. Like, I live off of Tennessee Street. So I could just hop on Tennessee Street and I'm 5 minutes from the shop. So I'm like, I could just go get a bagel and a coffee from Nagel's Bagels.
We have lots of people that work from the shop. You could do it there.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
But anyway, back into God, I just had to gas you up there for a second.
I like it.
It's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, it is important to have a really good product.
Yeah.
And marketing is, you can learn things about advertising. You can learn things about a lot, but a lot about marketing is just an intuition. It's just kind of a gut feeling. And so there were a lot of things. And to give Rich credit, he just let me go with some things that he very much was like, this is the worst idea possible.
Really?
But I was like, I just got a gut feeling it's going to work.
Please tell me you guys have like a giant bagel costume that one of you gets in.
We do have a bagel costume, and actually one of our employees gets into it, usually around Halloween, actually. Huh. So, yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. But, yeah, there was just a lot of things that I just – and having the career I had, really most of what I do is I know how to read people. I know how to read situations. And I love to learn. And so I am always reading or studying about, listening to podcasts about, how to do marketing, how to get your name out there, what are some different things to do. And since I don't have to worry at all about the operations side, my daughter, the younger daughter, and Rich, they handle the operations of it, which is great. They have all of that down pat. So I really strictly deal with, doing the networking and doing marketing and getting our name out there. I was very adamant early on that we register it as get a registered trademark, which is ridiculously expensive.
I really want to trademark Your Morning Drive, but it's not right now.
So it's really expensive to get it. I mean,
I want to so bad.
All to trademark Nagel's Bagels, it took a little more than a year. And I think where we're at right now is like $4,000 to $5,000.
$45,000.
No, 4 to 5,000.
Jesus Christ! I was like, bro.
Yeah.
Oh fuck.
Like 4, and we had a pretty straightforward path.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like we were trying to, trademark something that was really weird. And we had a pretty straightforward path. And the fact that it's our name makes a difference.
Does it make it more difficult?
No, it's just, you get it. It actually was supposed to make it easier. I don't know if it did or didn't. It just, there's some nuance in that they give you a little more leeway because it's your name. So
was there ever a different name in mind? Or was it always Nagel's Bagels? It
was always Nagel's Bagels.
Okay.
So, yeah. And so we did that. I think and then we did a lot of promotion that cost us a lot in the beginning. And, Rich was always like, okay, you really want to give every single person who works in the Bartow County and Cartersville School District a bagel at Christmas. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, do you have any idea how much that's going to cost us? I'm like, yeah, I know, but this is what we're going to do. And so for the first couple of years at Christmas, every single school, and every bus driver, every administrator,
wow, everyone got a bagel
in Cartersville, and we didn't go up to Adairsville, but we did all of the local, we did Woodland and we did Cass, and we did all of the schools, and yeah, and that was a big one. Yeah, we gave away a lot of bagels, and I based that on a couple of things. One was on Chick-fil-A model. That's what Truett Cathy did. He's like, people just have to taste it.
Yeah.
And then I love Seth Godin. He also has a podcast and written a lot of books. And yeah, that's kind of, part of his model. I did a lot of things. And I think too, this is probably from being older too. I trust my gut instinct. And if I think something's going to be the right thing, I do it. So.
I like that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have a great product. I'm not surprised it took off. So now it's your full-time job, both of you.
So now it's our full-time job. Yeah. Yeah. This is what we do. And we have the one store, and then we focus a lot on distribution. And so we are in about 40 different locations. So all the Dancing Goats coffee shops in Atlanta, and we're actually in some of the Caldi's locations in Atlanta. We're in several in Ackworth and Kennesaw, Rome. I mentioned the one in LNJ. So, and we won Best of Georgia for in the bagel division this past year.
Congratulations.
So, thank you.
So, what are the thoughts on scaling? Or do you not care? Or are you not talking about it yet?
So it's a family business, I mentioned. So Rich and I, and then our youngest daughter, Chrissy, she works full time.
Is she committed to doing Nagel's Bagels?
Oh, she is. Yeah.
Okay.
She is. She'll eventually own the whole thing. And you should know, she is scary, talented, and smart. You want her to take over Nagel's Bagels, because otherwise she's just going to be a dictator of a country. And it might not be good for us.
Yeah, no, that'd be tough.
Yeah.
Tough for business.
Yeah. So she is smart. And then we have another daughter too, who does participate, but not full time.
Sure.
She is way talented. She's the one that's the amazing singing talent.
Yes.
And lots of other things. And she's got other great things going. And, we'd kill each other if we all worked together all the time.
Of course. And I mean, it's a huge ask. And I don't even know, I'm sure you guys didn't ask.
No. And at first they were just child labor, like slave labor. They're like, this is what you're doing for your after school program today is make bagels, because we had a big order and we weren't prepared for it. And so we probably pushed Corey out of it, to be honest, the older daughter.
Sure.
If we hadn't pushed it so much, she might have wanted to stay involved. But our biggest argument that we have is how to scale. And, you don't want to do it too fast, but you also don't want to do it too slow. You got to, sometimes you got to strike when opportunities are there. So that's something we still kind of look at. I don't think we personally will have another location with a cafe like we have in Cartersville. I think if that ever happens, it's a big if, but I think if that ever happened, it would be a franchise situation or something to that effect, not us taking out the capital and all the sweat equity to actually open another physical location. The thing we do like best is focusing on distribution. Because one of the reasons we got into this in the first place was, we go back to when I owned the coffee shop. One of the problems for small business is, you want to actually make money on on the product you're selling.
Yeah.
And the profit margin on baked goods, and you have to have, and we wanted fresh baked goods. You want fresh.
Sure.
And not preservatives and all that crap. Well, to do that, you really don't usually make any money, because you usually only sell about half of what you get, and the other half you have to throw away because it's expired or it's, starts to get moldy.
Right.
And so we were like, well, how do we help solve that problem for coffee shops or for people that we distribute to? And that went back to Rich and his chemistry experiment in his head. And he figured out, okay, if we use higher quality flour, we use our own sourdough starter. Her name is Millie. We use our own sourdough. We use really good ingredients and nothing's, no preservatives, things like that. You can freeze them, and they'll thaw out exactly like they are the day they're baked. And so that way we can sell to cafes and say, freeze the rest. Just put out what you think you'll sell for the day. And so now what used to just be something you had to have to get people in the door is now actually a profit center for you. And so this helps us. And so we can use our name, like you said, we've built up our name well. And so now we can use our name to lend clout to other places where they can say proudly serving Nagel's Bagels. And now, they're getting business they wouldn't already get. And we like that, to be able to support, let all the ships rise.
Yeah, right. There's enough food for all of us to eat.
Absolutely.
No
and
pun
the
intended.
bagel market is not saturated.
No,
not here. No, not even close.
I guess that's I couldn't name another one. Goldberg's? Is that one?
Yeah, Goldberg's.
Because I used to live over in the Smyrna area.
Yeah. They have one at the Battery.
Yep.
Goldberg's does.
Yep. Eating there one time.
There's a new one in Ackworth called Jeff's Bagel Run. So I haven't been there yet, but they got a good reputation.
Good for them.
Yeah.
I bet they're not as good as Nagel's Bagels, though.
I can't say.
Yeah, well, ultimately, I was talking to one marketer, because I'm also a marketing guy. I haven't talked to you about that yet, but I'm also a marketing guy, kind of. Well, I have to be doing this.
I was going to
but
say, you
also
cannot be.
Outside of this, helping other people. But there was a time that I didn't want to interview other marketers on here, because I felt like I was giving a shout out to their business, when I want people to go through me if they want,
Absolutely.
assistance with running their Instagram or something like that. But one thing he told me during that interview, because I said, screw it, I'm going to have this one guy. So we had him, and now he's a collaborator and a friend. But he said, there's enough food for all of us to eat. So he's like, you know what? If I open a pizza place, come eat at my pizza place. But then tomorrow night, go eat at Joe's. And you know what? I love that you love Joe's, because I'd probably love Joe's too. But there's enough food for all of us to eat. Yeah. You're in a good business, because people are always going to be hungry for the rest of time.
It's true.
unless they come up with a drug that subdues hunger, which might exist already. I don't know, but I mean, some antidepressants, I
they
think
call it Ozempic.
probably, but
Here's the thing though, food isn't just about nourishing your body. We all love food. We love the social aspect of food. We love, food is such a big part of who we are as people, right? It's a way to connect to other humans. And so even if they had a pill that this is all you had to take, you don't ever have to eat again, we would still eat.
Oh, for sure.
We love it.
Yeah.
We can't help ourselves.
No.
And I mean, I am your friendly neighborhood carb dealer. It's important.
Are you guys sick of bagels?
No, I do limit myself to only one a day though.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
What do you get?
It depends. So I go through phases. And it's funny when people ask, because I invented the menu items. I didn't invent the bagel flavors, but I did invent menu items that are on our. So when they're like, what's your favorite sandwich? I'm like, all of them. I created them.
Yeah.
But I'm currently in a tomato basil phase. So if it's breakfast, I will often do the tomato basil. I'll still put the oil and vinegar. I'll do bacon, egg, avocado, and lettuce and tomato on my tomato basil
I love that.
But I just finished a breakfast phase of having to get the maple bacon with sausage, egg, and cheddar. That was like a long time. That was my breakfast every morning.
Okay.
And for lunch, if I didn't have a breakfast bagel, then I can have a lunch bagel. And it's the Cuban, but I put it on a cinnamon raisin bagel. It'll change your life. It's so good.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. I need to venture out from the plain bagel.
You do.
I'm a very plain guy, but
you don't have to be though.
I know I don't.
Like you're the boss of you.
Yeah, this is true. Sometimes it doesn't feel like I am though.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm just listening to what the universe tells me, I feel like. And a lot of the time, like the day we met the other day, I was like, I'm going to try something different. But then the devil on my shoulder was like, just get what you like. And I was like, you're right. You're right, little devil.
What do you think that's about? Because it's just one meal, even if you hate it. And it's not like
maybe I'm a tightwad and I'm like, I don't want to waste $12 on, well, really just 7 or 8 on a sandwich I don't like.
But all you would have to do is walk back up there and say, I didn't like this one. And they would make you a new one. And they wouldn't charge you.
Really?
Heck yeah.
I've never tried that at any restaurant.
Okay. So it might not be true about every restaurant, but here's something that I learned a while ago in one of my customer service positions. And I'm not exactly sure when, but when you apologize, or even whether it's your fault, doesn't matter. When you apologize, over apologize, make the apology memorable. So for example, this guy, I didn't know this at the time, but this guy comes in with this girl, they order, they sit down. The girl comes up and she didn't like something about her sandwich. And I was like, okay, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'll make you a new sandwich. And it was like a big enough thing. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was a big enough thing that I was like, you know what? I'm going to refund the sandwich and make the new one. Right. So I refund that sandwich off her order. I make her a new one. And as I go over there, I also brought a gift card. Some of that just comes in intuition. I just felt like I needed to go above and beyond with this person. So I do. I come over. I'm so sorry. Here's your new sandwich. I've refunded off your order. And by the way, here's a gift card for you to enjoy next time. Okay. I get it. That is overkill. This guy comes back a couple weeks later and he's like, hey, you're not going to remember me, but I was here on a first date with a girl and she didn't like her sandwich and you did all this. And he's like, that's why I'm back. And I was like, really? Well, thank you. And I was like, so how's it going with the girl? And he's like, oh no, she's long gone.
Did he get the gift card?
So he got the gift card.
Oh,
she did, which is good, right? Because I'd given it to her. So I was glad kudos for that.
Yeah.
So, but that changed what could have been a situation where, because I mean, obviously the date, I mean, she said she was long gone. So I guess the date didn't go well, or the next date or something, but yet it made a lasting impression, right? And that could have gone that she wrote a review of, oh my gosh, look how awful this happened. This was horrible. Instead, I created a lifelong fan.
Right.
So
true.
And it cost me not that much. I refunded the guy. and had to make a new sandwich and had to do a gift card. But still, even if that cost me a total of $30,
Right.
I'm making that up because he's now a regular customer.
Do you guys ever look at your Google reviews?
I do.
I just had the idea to look at them.
Okay. So Rich is not allowed to look at the Google reviews.
No?
Because the majority of our reviews are really good. But when we get bad ones, he gets so angry. And I take the bad ones as I'm like, you know what? We can use this as a learning experience. Or I take it as an education opportunity, especially when someone says, your prices are too high. That happens because that happens. And I mean, you can go to the grocery store and you could probably buy half a dozen bagels for the price of one at our place. And please do that if that matters to you.
Sure.
You know, but I, use it as an opportunity to say, and the reason is they're all handmade. We use high quality ingredients. They're all sourdough, nothing artificial. It's unbleached, non-brominated flour. It's actually real food. You're not eating preservatives, and all those things do preservatives, but I haven't. This guy who came in, he goes, they judged me because of my order. And he was right. We did.
Really?
Yeah. I can't. Okay. He asked for ketchup on his bagel. We gave it to him. We have ketchup.
Of course. But when he walked away, you were like, that guy's going to be on the news for being a serial killer.
I'm like, he wanted ketchup. Plain bagel, egg, butter, and ketchup.
Yeah, serial killer.
I'm like, yeah, I judged him a little. I felt a little bad, but I was like, touche, you're right. We did judge you. Sorry. I don't think I answered the review that way, but I really wanted to.
Wow.
Yeah.
Some of these are just funny because, working at a retail spot, you read reviews and half the time you read them and you're like, that person's just got to stick up their ass.
Yeah.
But then some of them you're like, ooh, God, they got me. But
yeah,
most of these they've got to stick up their ass. Except for this one. This one's kind of funny.
Okay. I want to hear it.
It was the most recent bad one.
Oh, good.
From a year ago.
Okay.
This would have been my first Nagel's Bagels experience, but they were out of bagels at 11 a.m.
Oh, okay. I remember this.
You responded.
Yes.
Very above and beyond. Please email me so I can send you an apology gift.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
You could have just said, oh, I'm so sorry. We were busy.
Yeah.
Get over it.
Yeah. So I will say up until I think in 2024, one of our biggest accomplishments is we mastered Saturdays and Sundays. And that sounds crazy, but Saturdays and Sundays are overwhelming and have been overwhelming at our shop for a long time.
I'm sure.
Because we make everything to order and because, we are very meticulous and we do make every bagel fresh every day. So if we don't judge how many, what the thing is, going to be, we do sell out. We used to sell out a lot. And this particular Saturday, we literally sold out at like 10:45. And it was like homecoming weekend. And there was just tons of people.
Just balls to the walls.
The line was out the door from 7 a.m. on. And I mean, there was nothing. And the thing is like, it happened so fast. There wasn't any way to even, because occasionally something like that has happened and we figure it out. And, we're able to kind of call the bakers back and be like, hey, I know this isn't normal, but I need you to make another batch. And it takes a long time, but they're usually, they can get that done if it's an emergency. We can't always do it, but, and this particular day we couldn't. And I remember we even put a sign on the door. We're like, yeah, it surprised us too. Yeah. So,
wow,
yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that one was fun.
But yeah, I mean, for the most part, you got over 200 reviews and they're all positive. There's like a handful of bad ones. And usually if you see that on a business, if you've got 10 reviews and 4 of them are negative, I'm like, But if you've got over 200 and 20 of them are negative, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
that just means 150 other people think this place is the bomb. And I'm more willing to trust those 150 people than that 20.
Yeah.
But
my favorites are when they mention another shop and they're like, you're not as good as. And I'm always like,
okay,
it's then you should go to that other shop. Like that is a small business too. If
support them as well.
Yeah. Please do.
If you hate us, go to them.
Yeah.
Fun. Very fun.
Yeah.
Kelly, there comes a point in every conversation I have with people that I ask them a set collection of questions at the end. They're all very first date kind of questions.
Ooh, I haven't been on a first date in 28 years.
Well, this is your first date in 28 years.
Exciting.
On podcast form.
Okay.
So they're very fun questions. There's a couple deep ones, but for the most part, they're kind of rapid. So but of course, if we want to discuss them, we can.
Okay.
In full.
I like it.
Hey guys, I want to talk to you a little bit about the company that makes your morning drive happen every week. Are you looking to elevate your business and your brand? Hammerhead Creations is here to help. They offer top-tier marketing services, including social media management, website design, and Google page optimization, ensuring your business reaches the right audience. Whether it's a side hustle or your full-time grind, their expert team, me, is ready to help you grow. Plus, if you're into podcasting like me, Hammerhead Creations offers full support for both in-house shows and external podcast creation. From concept to production, we will help you bring your ideas to life. Visit www.hammerheadcreations.com and discover how we can take your business or your podcast or both to the next level. Hammerhead Creations, swim with the big sharks. Number one, your favorite movie.
Okay, I have different movies for different categories.
Okay, hit me.
My favorite, funny movie, I just love and need to watch it a lot, is Princess Bride.
Okay.
Good
answer.
If I'm in a bad mood, got to see Princess Bride.
Okay.
My favorite, wow, I wish I had written that movie. It's just beautiful and always makes me cry, is A River Runs Through It. So, and my favorite eye candy movie is Troy.
Troy. Fun. Good answers. Yeah. Good answers. I think I might know this one because I think you told me. I don't know. We've talked for 2 hours. Your first job ever.
Chick-fil-A.
Look at that.
My mom, I'm pretty sure my mom lied to say my age because she was just so sick of me and needed to get me away from her. So not in a bad way. I just was,
sure. Yeah.
I know you'd be shocked at this, but I talk a lot.
Oh, really?
And my mom used to say, Kelly, my ears are full. Can't hear anymore.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. Rank these 3 things in order of your favorite to your least favorite. Okay. We've got queso, guac, and salsa.
Oh. Ooh. Okay. Salsa is my favorite.
Okay.
Which is, I feel bad for the guac.
Yeah. But guac's last.
I love guac, but it has to be good. It has to be right. And you can't just go to any, I've really hardly ever met a salsa I didn't like. Even if it was if it's really spicy, I like it. If it's not, I still like it. Right. And if you don't make the guac right,
bad.
Yeah. So I'm going to give guac second though, only because as I have aged, I can't handle all cheese, and queso sometimes doesn't like me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
understood there. Understood.
Yeah. But I could probably eat my weight in chips and salsa and just eat that. That's my girl dinner.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Maybe get some Los Arcos to go or something. Not to go. I love it there.
Yeah.
I love it there.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Oh, and have you been to, oh my gosh, I just lost their name, but it's the El Salvadorian one. They have homemade corn tortillas.
I've not been.
And oh my gosh, I feel so bad because it's so good. I will think of it before at some point.
Yeah, that's fine.
It'll happen.
Yeah, you'll text me at 11 o'clock tonight.
My brain will work in the
background. You'll say, hey, you up? I found out that name.
Yeah.
I'll be like, yes, I'm awake because I'm always awake. Kelly, if you found out tonight that tomorrow was your last day on Earth, what would your last meal be?
Oh, they don't make it anymore. but I would probably just say, but it's my last day, so I have to have it. Fusco's Italian restaurant in Ackworth.
Yeah.
They used to have this pork chop
Oh.
that was seriously the best thing that has ever happened. I used to say that if I was on death row, that the pork chop from Fusco's would be my last meal.
That's how I used to pose the question, but someone was like, "That's dark," and I was like, "Okay, so tomorrow's your last day on Earth."
Well, it is dark, but like,
duh.
If you were on death row, do you know who you would like have killed to be on death row? Because I have an idea of who you
would have killed.
Yeah, if I'm on death row, I think I know who I would have killed. There's
You know what's funny about that is a few months ago we were at a friend's place and we had a fire, and we were talking about like a serial. It might have been when that whole Menez brothers documentary came out, and I was like, isn't it crazy that they just like killed the shit out of their parents? Right. But then one of my friends was like, I feel like out of all of us, you're the most, they're like, no offense, you're the most likely to kill somebody. And I was like, maybe. But at the same time, no. Right. I can't stand next to another man and not be insecure. You think I'm going to gut somebody or gun them down? I just don't think I'm that cold.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I am only that cold when it comes to my children.
Yeah. Don't touch my children.
Or my husband. Like if you have effed with either of them, like I will kill you. I will bury you. I will have a shovel and an alibi, and I will go on the search party to help find your body and act like I was upset about it.
Let's freaking go.
Yeah. But don't mess with my kids.
Not the search party part of it. I will have an alibi, I will have a shovel, and I'll be first in line to help out.
Absolutely.
Well, you can't be first in line because that's weird.
No, you got to be in the middle of the pack. You got to just blend in.
Right.
So,
yeah. First in line, people are like, why are you so eager to look for a dead body?
Right.
Kelly, you get to organize a music festival. Who are your 3 headliners?
Oh, goodness.
They could be dead. They could be alive. Anybody.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my first one is definitely dead, although he's probably the last one to go on.
Okay.
Oh gosh, none of these are going to go together.
That's fine. Okay.
It's going to be
most of them don't.
Okay. Prince.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, best artist to ever live.
Okay.
Probably Elton John.
Okay.
And then I feel like we should have a girl. Maybe Janis Joplin.
Okay. All good answers.
I feel like Janis Joplin would be first.
I feel like that would be, they would all go together. That'd be a cool festival.
I feel like they'd be friends.
Very poppy.
Right?
All 3 of them. All of them have hits. It'd be a good festival.
Yeah.
I'd go.
Yeah.
Me and you, Kelly, we're in the front row.
All right. I love it.
Up against the little bars.
Yeah.
Next day our ribs hurt because we're just leaning up against it.
Oh, yeah. I will say I love going to see live music, but I cannot bring myself to pay the prices for big artists anymore.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's just too much.
I paid the absolute most I ever plan on paying for a concert. Was that this year or last year? I don't know, but either way for a concert. It was for Drake. And it was a lot of money.
How much did you pay?
Like $400.
Yeah.
See, I don't want to do that again. I don't want to do that again.
So Prince was here for the last time, before he died. We did not know that.
Of course not.
He was at the Fox, and I had already seen him a couple of times. So, but Rich and I had never gone together. And so we were like, oh, should we go? We look up the tickets. They're $400 a piece. And I'm like, oh, that's a lot. That's a lot of money. And then he postponed the concert because he was sick. And it was like a few weeks later. And so we revisited again. Should we go? Should we go? And still I was like, oh, that I can't do that price. And then of course he died after, and I was a little upset. Mm-hmm. And so we made a bucket list of people we really wanted to see, but every single time, like even Elton John, who I love, I'm sorry, no human is worth $1,000 as a ticket.
No,
I have YouTube.
Correct. Absolutely.
So, and a really good sound system.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
Yeah.
Love a good sound system.
Yeah. So, but I actually really love doing local live music.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
Driving and Crying will be at Cartersville at the Grand in February.
Yeah.
I will go to that.
Hell yeah.
So
I saw them at the Woodstock Summer Concert Series this summer, I think. Driving and Crying.
I think they might have
Yeah,
been there.
they were there. Yeah, it was really cool. They were nice. They're
Yeah.
good.
They're fun.
Yeah, very. And until I looked him up, I was like, who? And my dad was like, he sent me a couple songs and he was like, oh yeah, you'll know. And I was like, oh, I knew. Yeah. Oh,
Rich had no idea because California, you know, it was a very Southern band. So he had no idea. We're going to a concert. I am all excited because it was like an oyster festival and they were playing.
Nice.
And I was thrilled. I'm like, oh my gosh, so excited. And Rich is like, who are these people? Who are we talking about? I'm playing him song after song. Didn't recognize them. But Southern California, that's why.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Kelly, on a day that you're not working, which I'm sure is very few and far between.
These days, unfortunately.
How do you take care of yourself?
Oh, I like to be outside. So outside is very important. Keeps me grounded. And I love to read. So a lot of times I'm reading. Those are two big things. I have realized in the last few years the importance of sleep. So I guard my sleep really, really well. But yeah, on a day off, a normal day off where I really don't have any responsibilities, I'm going to figure out a way to be outside, maybe go on a hike, go see, you know, some body of water if possible, or a mountain, and maybe have a book, maybe have a journal. Yeah.
Love that.
I have a convertible, so if the weather's good, put that top down and just drive.
Love that.
So,
Kelly, what's success look like to you?
I think success for me is a much more personal thing. Like for me, success is just feeling good in my own skin with who I am and where I am.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. What is something that not many people know about you?
I'm a pretty open book, but let's see. Let me think about, I used to say it's because my life was so different now than it was. Not a lot of people knew that I am a seamstress or was a seamstress. So that I knew how to sew so well. And that, you know, and so then I would tell people, look me up online and you'll see like all of these, like you can pay to take classes and I'm your teacher and things like that. So that used to be the thing, but now there's a few more people know that now. So I think that most people look at me and they think I'm very put together and I know how to handle situations and I, seem to, process things really well. And I would say for the most part, that's probably true. But I think people would be surprised at how actually sensitive I am.
Wow, that surprises me.
So, yeah. And it's not like I get my feelings hurt that much. When I do, it's kind of devastating. But yeah, I do cry. I do get really upset at things. I have a lot of empathy and I actually am pretty sensitive. So I just not something I show outwardly very much.
That surprises me.
Oh.
Kelly, another one here. What do you draw the line at? What triggers you? I hate that word, but what triggers you? Like what you'll joke and laugh about all the things, but then what's one thing that someone can say and you're like, I don't play that game. You're like, nah, not for me.
When it's at the detriment of another human, another person, like you don't get to put down, you don't get to demean, you don't get to make fun of somebody to someone else's detriment.
Okay.
Now it's a totally different thing if you are friends with somebody and
we're just roasting each other.
We're roasting each other.
Yeah.
But people taking advantage or people thinking that they have some reason to be superior over another human is probably my biggest line. And I will definitely defend people for that for sure.
Okay, that's a good answer. What's your biggest fear?
Well, I do actually have a phobia of snakes.
Okay.
So Although I'm getting better about it. I actually saw a snake on a trail recently and did not die, which is exciting.
Very exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm. So a lot of my fears have changed in the last few years because my 2 children are now actual adults, legal adults, and have graduated high school. And so I did, before that, I had a fear that, oh my gosh, they won't. And I definitely had a fear of not being like a quote unquote successful parent. Whereas now I kind of realize, one, they actually are pretty amazing humans and I like them a lot. So, and, there's probably a lot more to do with God than me, but, that's really exciting, but I don't fear for their like life, safety, well-being as much as I used to. So I think probably my biggest fear, I'm just like, this is literally just occurring to me as I'm talking, is that all the really exciting things have already happened.
Wow. That's deep.
Yeah. Like, it's really fun to be surprised about something, whether it's a new discovery or a new thing about yourself or, to see a new thing in the world. Like, what if I've already seen all the best things?
I don't think you have.
I don't think I have either, but
yeah, I don't think
it is a little scary to think.
It is. That's a deep thought. I've never thought about that before. Wow. And then lastly, Kelly, 10 years from now, where are you? Where's the business? Where's everything?
Oh, well, hopefully we will have fully transitioned over to Chrissy, that she will have taken over the business fully. And Rich and I will be in an RV and we won't actually have maybe we'll have a little place here, but maybe not, and that we will be in an RV and we will be traveling full time, going to see all of the Major League Baseball parks, all of the national parks, all of the certified dark spots, which I love. Yeah.
Very fun.
Just traveling and without like a schedule, like, hey, you have to have some kind of a schedule.
Right. But like for the most part, like we can just fuck around for today if we want to, or this week.
Yeah. Like, hey, we're going to spend 3 weeks in Arizona just cause. Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it really would.
Now, Kelly, I'll let you have the floor to advertise, as if this hasn't been a giant Nagel's Bagels commercial. You can just advertise, tell people how to find Nagel's Bagels, how to find you, and everything in between.
All right. Well, yeah, obviously our location our physical location is in Cartersville, 125 West Main Street, right across from the chamber. We have a parking garage right there. Great place to come and see us. But we do also distribute to about 40 different locations. You can find a lot of those on our website, especially as I do a better job of updating it. But those are kind of all over. On social, we are Nagel's Bagels on Facebook and Nagel's Bagels and Brews on Instagram. I think we have a TikTok, but I actually don't do anything on it. All of our our employees, our kids say we need to. So I'm probably maybe that's one of my challenges for 2025 is I don't like to call them resolutions. It feels too
cheesy.
Yeah.
Gimmicky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Overused.
Overused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I like that. Wow.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So yeah, come try a Nagel's Bagel.
I will continue to come try to Nagel's Bagels, and I implore everybody to. Kelly, this was so fun. This is as fun as I wanted it to be and better.
I'm so glad. This really was.
So I'd love to add you, if you're interested, to the short list of people that I'd like to come back at some point.
I'd love it.
And chat about more things, whether it's about Nagel's Bagels or just about anything really.
I'm up to talk about anything.
Yeah, you told me that when I met you, and you're not wrong. We talked about, we talked about karaoke. We talked about Stephen King. We talked about octopodes, which I now can use in conversation.
Absolutely.
We talked about Halloween, the Olympic Games, trade marketing, basement bagels, and so many. The mob.
Yeah. I mean, we should just come back and have an episode just about my dad. He really is a pretty amazing guy.
That'd be really cool to do a little tribute for him.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool. I'd be honored. And speaking of honor, this was really cool for me. I mean, just being a Cartersville resident and being a avid lover of Nagel's Bagels, this is just really cool for me. And I'm going to keep supporting the business. And I don't just, a lot of people say, well, you might just say all that shit when they're sitting in front of you, but I really don't. I truly love their business and their product. So thank you for taking the time out of your crazy schedule to do this with me.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I truly am always blessed when people want to hear our story. It really is. It's humbling. For sure.
I can't imagine. Guys, everywhere, I'll throw the description to the Nagel's Bagels site and socials in the description of the episode, so it's easily accessible. If you're anywhere in the metro Atlanta area and even beyond, come try Nagel's Bagels. They're a fantastic spot with great options for everybody. And yeah, we love them and appreciate them as just local Cartersvillians. Is that the term?
Absolutely.
So like I said at the top, share this with one friend if you know somebody that lives in the metro Atlanta area and they want a nice small business story with other things woven in. Send them a link to this episode. We'd appreciate that very much. Follow on all the socials, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok, which I also need to get better at. But that's 2025's goals right there. We appreciate you. Happy New Year. And thank you for tuning in today. Take care.